Conservation Commission. We are meeting virtually, and I am going to read to you, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020, order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the Governor's March 15, 2020, order imposing strict regulations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Sturbridge Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation can be found on the town's website. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting may do so either online via the town's on-demand video broadcast, on cable television on channel 191, or dial into the meeting at 774-304-1455 and then enter 1428 pound for the no in-person attendance of members, but for the meeting number and for the meeting number and 12345 for the access code. The phone number is only active for during public meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay? The quorum check, we have 4. David is missing. I'm going to ask you to say here, Stephen Chidester.
Stephen Chidester, present.
Eric Casper.
Eric Gaspar, present.
Eric?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Steve Haldeman.
Steve Haldeman, I am here.
I'm getting, Jeff, I'm getting a delay.
Yeah, I think there's some congestion tonight, so hopefully it'll clear up in the next few minutes.
Okay, and Ed Goodwin, I am here also. I will also read the opening statement for public hearings to save time going forward. In the interest of time, the Sturbridge Conservation Commission will hold all public hearings tonight, work within a wetland, water body, or resource area and/or within the 200-foot buffer zone to a wetland, water body, or resource area in accordance with the Mass Wetland Protection Act, MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, and associated regulations, and the Town of Sturbridge Wetlands Bylaw and associated regulations. We will not be reading the newspaper ad. Prior to the opening, the first hearing of each project, the applicant is to submit proof of notification to the abutters within 200 feet of the subject property line and proof of legal newspaper advertisement. If these items are not submitted, the public hearing will not open. Additionally, prior to the start of each public hearing, we will announce the location of the project, the applicant, and the applicant's representative. Okay? And we have a quorum, and Mr. Barnacle is not here, so we will skip the trail committee. CPA has not had a meeting since the last meeting, so there is nothing to report there. Anything from Lakes Advisory?
Nothing.
Eric?
No meetings.
And Open Space, there's nothing from Open Space. Becky, want to go to minutes? I guess that would be the first thing. Do I have a motion with regard to the September 1st, 2020 meeting minutes?
This is Steve Halterman. I move that we accept the meeting minutes as written.
Eric Gaspar, second.
Do I have a second? All right. Any discussion at all? Hearing none. All in favor? Stephen Chidester.
Stephen Chittister, in favor.
Steve Haldeman?
Steve Halterman, in favor.
David?
Eric Gaspar, in favor.
Okay, all right. If you, have you got your computer there? If you go to the minutes of, hold on a second. Go to, her memo of dated 10/5, and she has them there. Yep. Excuse me for a second, I'm hooking David up. Okay. Sorry about that. He's working on it. And I approve the minutes of the first also. Who did I miss? Eric?
Yeah, Eric Gaspar, approved.
Okay. Therefore, we have approval of those minutes. What about the minutes of September 15th? Do I have a motion?
Steve Halterman, I move we accept the minutes of September 15th meeting.
Eric Gaspar, I second the motion.
Any discussion? Hearing none. A vote. Stephen Chidester, how do you vote?
Stephen Chittister, in favor.
Stephen Halterman? Steve Halterman, sorry about that.
Steve Halterman, in favor.
Eric Gaspar?
Eric Gaspar, in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Nothing, Jeff, there's nothing we can do to speed up that delay? It's pretty serious.
No, there could be just the connection this evening between GoToMeeting and the network. It could be congestion on the network itself. It could be a spectrum issue. Unless we want to stop the meeting and have everybody log back in to see if that improves it, that's all we can do.
What's
I
the
didn't
verdict,
notice
guys?
a
You want to
delay in
proceed?
mine. Is there a delay in
Okay.
mine? I don't think so.
I'm not seeing a
To
big
me, there
delay.
is, yeah.
And
Yeah, I think you were
Okay.
fine, Steve, when you just talked, so.
Yeah, so it's only me, huh?
no,
Maybe I should hang up
Eric,
and come
you
back
had
in.
Eric, you have a really big delay tonight. You normally do have a slight delay, but it's really bad tonight.
Oh, do I?
Yeah, I mean, it's worse than ever.
Well,
I think
that
you've
leaves
been
us
short
open
with
wide
it. You're
open,
just-
right, Eric?
I'll
You're
log
yanking
out
us-
and I'll log back in. All right, I'll log out and I'll log back in. I'll be right back, guys.
Let's see if it...
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Go ahead. We'll hold the meeting.
Even.
I don't think it was any worse than normal.
I see a delay for everybody. So, for the record.
Yeah, that's what I've seen it even for everybody. You're right.
Okay.
Or at least that's what I have. Becky, speak to me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out the delay there. I mean,
Hey folks,
Hello.
Hi, Stephen.
this is Steven San Angelo. Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Yeah, I could complain. I don't know that anybody would care, and so I'll keep those comments to myself. How's that? No, all things considered, it's a great night. Weather's good.
All right.
Kids
Is
are
this any
good.
better?
Evening.
Are we still having a significant delay on me?
We're getting echo now.
Oh, lovely. All right. How about now? No, still an echo. Great.
Hey, Pat, it's Becky. Hi. I just re-emailed him.
Stephen? Stephen?
Okay, let me check his email and just sent this. All right. Okay, bye-bye.
Boy, this is bad tonight.
All right, still an echo?
Nope.
You sound good on my end.
All right. Well, that's good. I don't hear my echo anymore, so maybe my earbud was malfunctioning. Or are you still getting an echo and a delay?
Yeah, no, you're coming in loud and clear.
Okay.
Why was that muted?
This?
Yeah,
I just did it when I called Dave.
you turned the whole meeting off. From here. They could hear each other, they couldn't hear us.
Oh.
Are we ready to go? Are we moving?
I'm not going to say anything.
Now, I can't hear Ed now.
Ed's not speaking yet.
Oh, okay.
We lost Ed's image, too.
Yep.
Ed, you're really slow tonight. Hold on. Let me turn you back on.
I'm going to hang up and call back in. That's all I can do.
All right.
There we go. We can hear you now.
Now you're good.
Hey, since the first one, this is the first real bad one. So I think we've been having a pretty good track record with these.
For a bunch of guys over 30.
I'm fastly approaching 50, so we can start to round up.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't round up. I'd be 100. I am starting to act like an old man. I took a pair of scissors and cut my hair.
Attaboy.
That just seems like something an old man would do. I'm not going to a barber shop. I'm going to cut it myself. Minutes are going to be weird.
That's a play out of
Jeff,
my
you're a
playbook.
good guy to put up with all this.
Just here to make it happen. That's all.
Hello? I'm back.
There you go.
All right.
Hi, welcome
we can hear
back.
Well,
Click
hopefully
on
Dave
my
figures it
pretty
out at some
face.
point.
There we go. Any better there,
Yes.
Eric?
Yeah? Yeah, I can hear you fine.
All right, you're good.
Yeah,
All right,
we're
let's see if we
cooking.
can go from there. All right, we are, we've gotten through the minutes. Becky, do we have any walk-ins?
No walk-ins tonight.
No walk-ins tonight, huh? All righty. And what's the time? We at 6:15?
Yeah, ready to rock.
Yeah, we're at 6:15. 12, Cantasquar Shore Drive, Notice of Intent, DEP File Number 300-TBA, Landscape Evolution Representative, S. Santangelo, owner/applicant, replacement of shoreline wall. Becky?
Yep, so this is a notice of intent. We did receive the DEP file number today, so that has been issued, and that's 300-1076. DEP did not have any comments. The Natural Heritage Program also issued a letter yesterday with no concerns with the project. So this is an existing vertical timber retaining wall, which is starting to fail on the bank. It will be replaced with a manufactured stone, which would appear to add some habitat value over the existing timber wall. Would prefer to see a more natural approach. However, the site constraints do limit the ability to go back into the yard. Setting back there would impact that mature maple tree that we'd like to see stay. So I think that this is a good solution for the site, considering the constraints. A few other things, and actually I'll put the plan up because I do have it. They are adding some landscaping, and I think taking out the Japanese knotweed and replacing that with the hedgerow there as well. So for this, I don't have any concerns with this. I think it's going to be improvement over the existing conditions. I'd recommend approval of the project, and also recommend that the work be conditioned to occur during low flow conditions with the proper erosion controls which are noted on there. They also noted in the filing that equipment will be located on the upland side of the bank, and we should just condition that for any stockpiling to be located on that side as well. One other thing to note, it's separate from our review, but because this is a great pond, the owner should verify that they won't need a Chapter 91 permit for this. Because it's an existing wall, there could be, from the previous property owner, an existing permit in place. But we typically add just a condition. This is something that DEP is starting to note, but we typically add a condition that all local, state, and federal permits are received before work commences anyways. So let me find the plan and pull that up for you. Screen share. Let's see. So here's the plan. It's been provided to everybody in advance, but just to give you a reminder of this. So that's all I have. I don't know if the Stephen or Mike has any comments to add on the project. Oh, Mike, you're just
Mike, you're on
muted.
mute.
How's that?
Better.
Okay.
Yep, we hear you.
All right. Yeah, I had one little goof on my plan is I failed to put in, there was some stairs that currently exist that Steve was looking to keep to rebuild, that would be on the northeast corner, kind of in where I currently have labeled for proposed plantings of clefter and blueberry, right, that area. Yeah, exactly.
So what,
So that would
what
be-
we were thinking, what we were thinking was to just build the stairs in that section and then move those plantings in and along the hedgerow so that we could have a little bit of access down from the backyard to the beach. So that little bare spot there could get filled in with the plants, and then the steps would basically take up where the existing or the proposed plantings would be in that corner there.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
that was the only change I needed to ask for.
And that would be in the
All
location.
right, going
of-
through the committees.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and that's in the proposed location where the existing stairs, the wood stairs are? Okay,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah, the only difference in the proposal is that instead of the stairs protruding into the water or shore area, they would be recessed into the land area.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, that would be seen as a good improvement.
Yeah.
I think the commission, if you feel that's
Steve,
minor and you want to see that, you know, as a revision shown, I think you could still, if you wanted to, because it's a very minor thing, you could have him add that on there. You know, after, if you wanted to approve it this evening, you could still have them add that, send it to me, if you felt that was small enough to be added without coming back to a meeting. That's all.
all right. Steve Haldeman, anything?
Yeah, I would agree with Becky that that would be a change that they could put as an as-built. I'm okay with it. I think that's an improvement.
Eric Gasper?
Steve Halderman.
Yeah, Eric Gaspar, no questions. I'm good with the project.
Steven Chidester?
Yeah, no questions from me.
My only question, and I think I know the answer. This wall is going in the exact position and height of the existing wall, Stephen?
Yeah, this is a straight replacement.
Yeah.
Great replacement. Okay.
I think it might be slightly lower than actually. The existing wall kind of protrudes a little bit, but other than that, it'd be the same location.
I have no problem with it, and I have no problem with the having the. Oh, David, you've joined us.
Yes,
Dave
thank you
Barnacle?
very much. I appreciate your patience.
Any comment on this?
I don't know if the question has been answered, but I'm curious about how far from the stone wall. Let me see. Hang on. The annual high water mark that Lenny has on the print, can you give me some indication about how far from the steps that is? Because remember that this is a cove, and oftentimes the water level fluctuates tremendously.
I mean, I've seen it probably up on the wall, maybe by a foot, but more often I've seen it the water not even on the wall. But I don't know if Steve has a, what his take on that is.
Yeah, I mean, over the, I've only been at the property 3 years, right? And so it has touched the wall, it's come up on the wall, and it's as low as it's been this year. I can't really speak historically to anything beyond that.
Oh, the wall is going where the existing wall is, right, Stephen?
Yes, sir. Yep.
There's no change. It's not gonna.
No change to the wall location or height. And as Becky mentioned in the beginning, you know, I know a handful of you have been out to the property, but there's a really beautiful maple in the backyard, and they intended to preserve that and not change the location of the wall.
What about the foundation? Do you have to change the foundation at all?
We had met maybe a month or so ago to talk about elevating the house and putting a foundation under it. That was a notice of intent, I think. Request for determination. Request for determination was approved. Yeah, so there's no changes to the house or the footprint or those plans in consideration of these.
Sorry, I should have asked my question more clearly. Are you going to need to replace the foundation for the wall?
Oh, it would have a new foundation, yes.
And so what kind of excavation is going to be taking place in order to put a new foundation in?
Well, I mean, this type of wall, it's essentially there's a crushed stone compacted base, and then the block goes in, is embedded a good 10 to 12 inches. And so that's the foundation. There's no poured concrete or anything like that.
No, but that means that there's a 10 to 12 inch excavation that takes place for the full length of the wall so that you can put the crushed stone under it.
Right.
What's going to happen to that material? And how is it going to be protected if the high water mark comes back, as it oftentimes does in South Pond.
Yeah, I mean it's wrapped in a fabric, and that's all below grade anyways. So it's really not it's not going to be subject to wave erosion, and it would be that foundation would be deep enough, and again wrapped in the fabric. So that's how they build them.
One last question. What are you going to be doing with the spoils? What are you going to do with all of the digging material, the stuff that you dig out?
Yeah, anything we're not going to have to reuse as backfill, we live load and just take it away. I'd have to leave a small amount to backfill the wall, but other than that, I just handle it once and get it out of there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Could we hear from the audience, Jeff?
Sure.
Please. Mr. B, I thought we lost you.
Oh, I'm still lost.
Good evening, this is the Conservation Commission hearing on 12 Cantasquar Shore Drive. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak at the public hearing? Good evening, this is the Conservation Commission's public hearing on the 12 Cantasquar Shore Drive, notice of intent. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak at the public hearing? There's no one to speak on this hearing item.
Thank you, Jeff. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Steve Halderman.
Steve Haldeman, do I have a
Cantasquar,
second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
David Barnacle in favor.
Steve Haldeman?
Steve Halderman in favor.
Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Stephen?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. All right, now do I have a motion to approve the project?
Steve Halderman, I move that we accept the project DEP file 300-1076 with the slight modification as discussed with the stairway.
Eric Gaspar, second.
Okay. Do I have any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to vote. All in favor? Steve Haldeman, how do you vote?
Steve Halderman, I'm in favor.
David Barnacle?
David Barnacle in favor.
Eric Gaspar?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Stephen Chidester?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Thank you very much. Good luck, Stephen.
Thank you, appreciate it. Have a good
Yep.
evening, everybody.
Thank you,
Take
gentlemen.
care.
Take care, guys.
Okay.
We are now at 6:30. Perfect timing.
Well, we actually are.
9 Holland Road, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, DEP file number 300-1068, continued from September 15th. R. D. Bonaventura, owner, applicant, G. Kowalski, EBT Environmental Consulting, representative, approval of wetland resource area. Becky?
Yep, all right, so just to give an update, so this was actually on the September 1st meeting agenda. We voted for the peer review. So that peer review has been conducted. The site visit was done on October 1st. Yesterday afternoon, I did receive the report from our peer reviewer. Unfortunately, he couldn't attend the meeting this evening. So I'll just quickly go through that. I do need to provide that. We can provide that to the board and to Mr. Krabowski here, who's representing the property owner. So Mr. Allen did visit the site. His comments and recommendations, I'll just summarize them quickly for you. So he's saying that the ANRAD plan depicts approximately the northerly 2/3 of the property. Says for the record, it should be noted that his review and any actions by the commission should be limited to the portions of the property depicted on the ANRAD plan, and specifically including the land area to the west of wetland flags labels 1 to 95. As a result of the field review, he noted several wetland resource areas, including bordering vegetated wetland, land under waterway, mean annual high water line, and bank, as well as associated buffer zones. Bordering land subject to flooding also occurs on the property, as well as a priority habitat for state listed species. He next says that he's in agreement with the field delineations and plan locations of the resource areas associated with the Quinnebog River, including bordering vegetated wetland and mean annual high water line. The resource area bank is also associated with the Quinnebog River, but is coincident with or down gradient of the mean annual high water line and was not delineated separately or requested to be verified. Bordering land subject to flooding is depicted on the ANRAD plan, but it does not appear that topographic contours are present to allow verification of the bordering land subject to flag labeling. Regardless, bordering land subject to flooding was not requested to be verified, so no findings should be made on this resource area. It appears that the labeled 36-inch HDPE pipe culvert carries a mapped perennial stream. Although the stream is within a culvert on the subject site, it is still a regulated resource consisting of bank. The culvert should be labeled as such on the plan to be approved. Since the stream culvert is more than 200 feet in length, it would not have riverfront area associated with it, historic mill complex notwithstanding. Next, he says it's his opinion that the portion of the property depicted on the ANRAD plan is an historic mill complex and should not have riverfront area associated with it. This recommendation is consistent with the Wetlands Protection Act and regulations as stated and highlighted on the attached excerpts that he gave. He said he found the entire length of the Quinnebog River bank in the portion of the site depicted on the ANRAD plan to have a placed stone and boulder retaining wall of varying heights. He also found extensive structures, foundations, parking, storage areas, and evidence of underground sluiceways occupying the entire subject area. These developed areas appear to have been in existence prior to 1946. So that's the extent of the memo, which I will provide to both Mr. Krabowski and the board. I would recommend at this time that the board, I mean, obviously everyone needs to review the memo since it was just received yesterday, but moving forward with continuance, so that way everybody can review it. And then I'd recommend that the plan is revised to reflect our Allen's comments as well. Okay.
Okay. Mr. Krabowski, you have any comments on this?
No, sir. We request a continuance next meeting.
Okay.
If the board has time to.
Becky, do we have this plan now? Do I have this in my computer?
No, I received this yesterday afternoon, so I didn't forward anything received yesterday afternoon and today to the commission. So I will get this over to you ASAP.
All right.
So this would
For
be...
the chairman, you did ask.
Go ahead.
Beg your pardon?
The chairman, you did ask for plan, and I said yes. You didn't ask the memo.
Yeah.
I did not agree that you had the memo. I just said that you have.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments from any of the members of the board? Having requested continuation, do I have a motion to continue? Well, let's see if we have anybody in the audience who would like to speak on it.
Good evening. This is the Conservation Commission's public hearing on 9 Holland Road, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak to that? Is there anyone that would like to speak to 9 Holland Road, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation? There's no one for this application.
All right. Seeing none, I would like to have a request for continuation.
So moved.
Someone like to make that request?
EBT requests that as it's over 21 days.
Okay. All right. Members of the committee? In favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
David Barnacle.
David Barnacle? Steve Halterman?
Steve Halterman in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Eric, I'm sorry, Stephen, missed you down there in the corner.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Okay. That's unanimous. And when will the continuation be, Becky? What's the
This
date
will
of
be
the?
October 20th at 7:15.
First of all, we should check with Glenn to see if that's an acceptable date.
Yes, it is, sir. Thank you very much. Article.
He's nodding his head here, Mr. B.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. We are now to Deja Vu, 9 Holland Road. Request.
I think we're ahead of time.
Yeah, it's not
Mr. Chairman.
6:45.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good point.
Please by
Good
my
point.
watch.
Becky, what do we got we can do?
Yep, we have some other stuff we can fill in here. So we have a permit extension request. This is for DEP file number 300-998. This is for 365 New Boston Road, formerly known as Lot R1, 367 New Boston Road. We recently entertained a amendment request for that permit, which was granted. They received amended orders of conditions. The original permit date, issuance date, is what carries for the expiration date. So the permit is expiring, and they are asking for a 3-year extension for that project. And they're just starting work now on that. I did go out and do a pre-construction meeting with them. So they do have the work to complete the construction, and then also there's some plantings that they will be doing some monitoring for of that property as well. So I recommend granting the 3-year extension.
Any discussion from the board? All in favor? Mr. Monaco?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Did we hear from the
Beg
public
your pardon,
first?
David?
Did we hear from the public first?
It's not a public hearing.
Not a public hearing.
Not a public.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Monaco, how do you vote?
In favor.
Steve Halterman?
Steve Halterman in favor.
Eric Gaspar?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Stephen Chidester?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. All right, Becky, you got one out of the way.
All right.
What else?
We have some requests for certificates of compliance. We have one, it is for 27 Preserve Way. That is part of the Preserve subdivision. Couldn't think of the name there, I don't know why. It's DEP file number 300-471. This would be a partial just for that lot. I did go out. I have no concerns with the issuance of the partial for that specific property.
We all
Okay.
have to recuse ourselves?
Why would we have to do that?
Because of our clerk? I'm joking, Ed. Come on.
All right, all in favor?
David Barnacle in favor.
All these are
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Eric?
searches they're finding
Stephen?
permits that never got closed.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Steve?
Steve Halterman in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. All right. Becky, you're still on.
All right. We also have 36 Cantasquar Shore for a request for a certificate of compliance. It's DEP file number 300-1039. This is for a well installation project that we reviewed and issued a permit for last year. They did complete the work. It was, the well was within an existing single-family house lawn on South Pond. I did go out, the site, the work conformed with the plans, and the site's been restored. I have no concerns with that. That would be a full, complete certificate, and it does have ongoing conditions, just the typical, no additional alteration, sedimentation to resource area, and the fertilizer pesticide use clause that you have in there.
All right. Any comments from the committee?
I have a quick question. Becky, how did they notify you that that was completed?
Yes, so the engineer of record did submit the request for certificate of compliance for that, with the normal statement that it's in compliance.
Excellent. Because I know sometimes they just get lost,
Yeah,
fall through the cracks.
yeah, no, they were on top of it.
Okay, good. Well, that was very good. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none. Stephen Chidester, how do you vote?
Stephen Chittister, I approve.
Dave Barnacle?
David Barnacle in favor.
Eric Gaspar?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Steve Halterman?
Steve Halterman in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Great. Becky?
All right, we have a few more minutes. So we have 2 requests for certificates of compliance for 51 Seneca Lane. DEP file number 300-435 and DEP file number 300-619. I'll start with the 435. This one was for, there was an existing cottage on the property, so it was a developed lot. New property owner had bought it, and they requested to put a upland retaining wall in. So they had received orders of conditions for that. I did request letter of substantial compliance from the engineer, which was received. I did go out and do a site visit and was able to view the wall, and it's in compliance with the plans. The other file number 300-619 is for the construction of the single-family house there. So they did raise the cottage and build a single-family house. I did, like I said, I was already on site, so I did do a site visit and have the letter of substantial compliance from the engineer for that one as well. I think that I would recommend for these that both are issued for complete certificates of compliance. DEP file number 300-619 does have the normal, or actually both of them actually have orders of, perpetual conditions for the use of fertilizers and pesticides in the property.
Hey, what's the date on these, Becky?
One second.
Yep.
These go back a long way.
Yeah.
I was thinking that, you know.
Gotta dig out the onions.
I was gonna, yeah.
One was issued in 2001, and I believe the other was issued in 2004.
Okay.
Seems like just yesterday.
Yeah. All right. Any comments from the board?
I was still
All in
living in
favor?
Nashua at the time, so should I?
I didn't think you were born then, Eric.
Oh, come on.
David Barnacle, how do you vote?
In favor.
Do you want to do them separately?
Stephen Chidester? No, both together.
Okay.
That's the way you presented them, so.
Yeah.
Stephen Chidester?
In favor. Stephen Chittister.
Stephen Haltman?
Steve Halterman in favor.
And Ed Goodwin
Gaspar
in favor. And Eric Gaspar in favor. All right, Becky, you want to do the last one?
You're at 645.
All right, 6:45 it is. We are at 9 Holland Road. Correct. Request to amend DEP file number 300-0959, continued from September 15th, 2020. R. D. Buenaventura, owner/applicant, and G. Kravosky, EBT Environmental Consulting, representative, amend the order of conditions of the DEP file number 300-0959 to remove special condition number 38 and amend special condition 77 to remove number 38. Becky?
All right, since the last time we discussed this, Mr. Grabowski did come back and it was his opinion that the orders of conditions were told under the governor's orders, and that the provision in that paragraph related to permit tolling with violations wasn't relevant to this. So I did seek town council's opinion on this because it was a little more complicated than thought. And the feedback that I was given from town council was that the governor's order related to the state issuance permits tolling was repealed. So that's his opinion that the commission can't grant an amendment to the expired order condition under the Wetlands Protection Act. It said it's also his opinion that the expiration of the orders and conditions under the bylaw is tolled pursuant to Chapter 53 of the Acts of 2020. However, the applicant cannot proceed without a permit under both the Wetland Protection Act and the bylaw. It's his recommendation that the commission deny the request for the amendment to the bylaw orders of conditions in his opinion.
Okay. Do we have Alex's recommendation in writing?
I do have that in writing. Yep.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Mr. Kravosky, do you want to speak? What?
No, I was just going to say.
What did you say, Beck?
I was going to say with that said, I think that we're going through the ANRAD process, and part of what the concern is the riverfront usage on the property related to the condition in the permit. So I think that as we move through with the ANRAD, which I think it's Mr. Allen's opinion that the historic mill complex does apply to the property, or at least the portions of the property shown on the plan. I think that as we move forward with that, and then also because we do have the enforcement order on the property, and Mr. Kravosky did send a letter with some updates on that, we continue to resolve the enforcement order under the enforcement order. There's really no need for any work to occur under the orders and conditions at this time anyways. What we're talking about is restoration work. I think that move through the enforcement order, and then we can work towards the issuance of a certificate of compliance for that project in that property, and then some language could be added to the certificate of compliance clarifying the areas of the historic mill complex, which it seems to be that's the concern that Mr. Kravosky's had on the property. So I think that some language could be added to it to clarify for them at that time. And then I was going to recommend that at this time, since we've gotten the correspondence from Mr. Kravosky, that we do go out and do a site visit and take a look at the property. He did include a mitigation plan for some of the cutting that occurred out there, which included removal of some invasive trees that are growing on adjacent property. And that may be one of the last things that's needed for the enforcement order, but I think a site visit would be warranted at this time.
Do we have, does each of the members of the Conservation Commission have this information now?
Yep, I did provide Mr. Kravosky's letter dated September 28th for your review.
Yep.
Yep.
And with a plan associated with that letter.
Yeah, I think he has the plan with that, yep.
It was very
So
nice.
a site visit? Anybody have any comments?
Yeah, I don't know if Mr. Kowalski has.
Glenn? Go ahead, Glenn.
Thank you very much. Thank you if you're going to set up that site inspection. We do appreciate that. We have a Jessica Young from the Attorney General's office calling in. I expect this information within the next day that clarifies, at least at the state permitting agency, which was referenced in the governor's order dated July.
Ben, you got to stay at the mic.
Dated July 2nd. I'd like to see what Rebecca is referring to as far as the attorney's letter, because I didn't see that, and we have the Attorney General's office, Division of Environmental, Jessica Young, chiming in that at least at the state level, if an enforcement order is issued by a state permitting agency, then and that enforcement order would then make any order that is under that project. There would be no extension of the time period from the original date of expiration. Our date of expiration is 5/22/2020. Again, not seeing the letter from the town attorney and waiting another day or so for the correspondence from the Attorney General's office, that clearly the town is not a state permitting agency. I'm not exactly sure, because she read it quickly and I didn't have time to review this letter from the town attorney. I want to see the relevance, direct relevance, that this project could not be extended, because yes, at the state level, if there's an enforcement order by a state agency, there is no extension of the time period. That is not what the governor's order said on July 7th. So if it's a bylaw that's not extended because there's an enforcement order, if that's what the attorney for the town is saying, well, I didn't quite get that from the letter. Could I please have a copy of the letter? And could we just then resolve this? Because I do agree that the exemption listed in on the order conditions that had potentially expired in 2022 did say except for exceptions, or the exceptions that if there was a historical mill complex, there was no riverfront area, so we weren't in perpetuity limited to the alteration of land. Rebecca, Mr. Gendro does believe that we're not going to be harmed by amending the original order, getting rid of that perpetuity clause that we can't alter any more land. I believe that it's cleaner to amend the order to remove the perpetuity clause, because then people reviewing the order of conditions and 5 years, 2 years, or 4 years down the road, they're not reading one and can't alter any more land from that order that is, again, supposedly expired on 5/22. But then in this new order, the ANRAD order, ORAD, which will be issued, you can alter the land because now it's a historical mill complex. I think it would be cleaner to remove the original order saying you can't alter anything, because now that we do know that it is historical mill complex, there was an error in the writing of the original order. I would ask, please, that be just 2 more weeks to review, because I have not had time again to say this, review the attorney's letter, or have the second contact with Jessica Young, environmental attorney's office. That's all I'm asking, is time to review the letter from the attorney of Sturbridge. And also present equal with the Attorney General's office state.
You can ask Alex to put a letter together for the conservation.
That's my
Commission.
But I'll let the committee members comment, but if we have a site visit planned for the site, it would seem to me that we could continue it until you got a copy of the letter.
Appreciate that, sir.
I disagree.
Other opinions? Mr. Monaco?
I disagree because Lenny is not a lawyer. Our town lawyer interpreted our regulations and indicated that the direction that we should go in. As far as I'm concerned, what we should do is move on. We've had the same item on the agenda for lots and lots and lots of time, and I think that it's time to take a vote, and move it on.
All right.
Can I comment?
I'm going to go through the, Eric?
Respectfully, David, I don't know I agree with that. I think the attorney was reviewing our bylaws and his interpretation of what the state was saying, and the state, according to Glenn, is giving a different analysis of the state piece. Am I correct in that, Becky? He gave two. There was one advisement under the Sturbridge wetland bylaws, and then another advisement based off of what he read the state's ruling was. Is that what I understood when you?
Correct, but what he said was that the state issued permits are expired, and therefore you cannot grant an amendment to that. So he's saying that was repealed. But I guess, just speaking towards this, if you decided to vote on this, the applicant and representative do have the right to appeal any decision. So if they had a concern, that is the avenue that they could take to do that as well. And then I want to add this back on, regardless of how you do it, on the agenda as an update for the enforcement order as well. So.
One more thing. I just have a question for Glenn. So I guess I don't quite understand. It seemed like your apprehension is there's going to be an in perpetuity on one, and then on a later date that's going to be corrected. I mean, anybody who's going to be researching this property is going to see those two things, and the one at the later date is gonna rule the day. So I guess I don't understand the real concern, because if they stop at this permit that we're talking about here, well, they haven't done a full job at researching the property anyway, and it shouldn't be anything that stops anybody who's doing a full vetting of the property. So I guess I don't fully understand your concern.
Can I comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, wait, Glenn, I'm going to let everybody else speak. Steve Haldeman?
Yeah, I agree with both Glenn and Dave. And if there is an issue, I mean, I like that. I like your suggestion, Eric. I was going to say before is if we have a concern about conflicting instructions, I'll say, then we should sort that out. And that should be, no offense to Glenn, but like Dave said, Glenn's not a lawyer. We need to sort that out ourselves. But I think that that what Eric is saying really is the way we should go with this.
And Stephen Chidester.
Yeah, I agree with the other members of the commission. No additional comments.
Okay. Okay, Glenn, one more.
But we never had a chance to review the attorney's letter, and he talks directly that an approval issued by a state permitting agency. Conservation Commission is not a state permitting agency. Goes on further on in the language, a state permitting agency is any agency, board, bureau, department, office, committee, division, or official of the Commonwealth, which issues approvals and is within our reports to the Office of Executive, Office of Energy or Environmental Affairs. You do not report that office. I have not reviewed the attorney's letter. I'm asking for a continuance. And lastly, directly above this, at the end, this is signed by Baker. I'm looking at an enforcement order from an inspector or other authorized official of a state permitting agency compelling the property owner, holder, or intended user. There is nothing about the town permitting agency. It's only state permitting agencies that have no tolling. So ask again that the Attorney General's office have 1 moment to review it, and I have a moment, and it's only 2 more weeks to then close it. It's all, if I read it, they read it, and they say fine, then we're all correct, and your attorney might be correct. Right? But if you, I would ask that you all read this one thing from Governor Baker, and I think yourself, you're going to say, geez, we're not a state permitting agency, and that's the only agency that can issue an enforcement order that has no toll.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask Glenn, to answer my question, which is, why is this a big deal? Like, I don't understand for the life of me why we're continuing this conversation when it's going to be fixed in post, so to speak. So I need an explanation. I'm willing to listen to you, Glenn, but I need an explanation of why it's so important that it can't be fixed in the future. Like that, I don't understand why that's important.
I'll make the point then. Loose end.
Yeah.
It's a loose end that is incorrect, that can easily be amended and fixed. That's why, because it's sitting out there as an error that was issued by the board, and we can correct it, and then there's no errors in any kind of document. And I don't like errors. And I haven't had a chance to review the town attorney's letter. Out of respect for anybody that I would normally give, I would at least give me the respect to have that piece of document so I can review it. Rebecca held on to it. She could have sent it over, and we could have said, oh, that's great. But instead I hear somebody reading it, and that's the end of it. That's why.
I just got the opinion today, so I wasn't withholding anything from you, Glenn.
I would have read it today. I would have read it before this meeting.
Okay.
People use
How long
Right.
is this issue?
Now,
This
all
was
right.
in the permit issued.
Okay, we've heard from the parties.
Long ago?
Glenn, we've heard from the parties.
They could have appealed the order if they had an issue with it at the time.
Do I have a motion?
No, you have to go to the public.
I have to go to the town. You're right. Thanks, David. Jeff, we need to check to see if anybody in town wants to speak on this.
We're on it.
Is there anyone on the public line that would like to comment for 9 Holland Road, request to amend DEP file number 300-959? Again, is there anyone on the line who would like to comment on 9 Holland Road, request to amend DEP file number 300-959?
Nope, no one's on the line, Mr. Chair.
Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Steve Haldeman, so moved.
Eric Gaspar, second.
Eric, you seconded? Steve and Eric?
Yeah.
Okay. Discussion. Do I have any further discussion on the matter? Okay. All in favor of closing? Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Dave Barnacle?
David Barnacle in favor.
Stephen Chidester?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Steve Haldeman?
Steve Halterman in favor.
And Ed Goodwin against. Now do I have a motion? It carries 4-1. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman. David Barnacle here. For
Okay.
DEP file number 300-0959 for 9 Holland Road, that we vote nay.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last part of that, David.
We vote no. We do not assign an extension to 9 Holland Road request to amend the file. In other words, close it out.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And did I get a second on that?
I'll second it. Steve Halterman.
Okay. Steve Haldeman.
Yes.
Any discussion? Eric?
Yeah, I
You're gonna say
have difficulty with this because as much as it's only 2 weeks, I still don't feel like I got a reasonable answer as to, other than just perfecting the record. That's the only reason to keep this open. So, yeah, that's the only comment that I have. I'm conflicted here.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor of not extending it? Mr. Barnacle?
David Barnacle in favor of not extending it.
Eric?
Eric Gaspar, I'm in favor of extending it.
Steve Haldeman?
I vote no in terms of extending it.
And Steve Chidester? Stephen?
I also vote no. Stephen Chittister.
And I vote, I'm in favor of extending it. So the not extending it is 3 to 2. So it does not get extended.
I just asked.
All right?
That I get a copy of the letter still from the attorney.
Yep.
Thank you.
Becky, you'll see that he gets a copy, right?
Correct.
Beck?
Yep.
Okay, good. What time are we at here? We're at 7:06. We are behind.
Thank you.
Take care, Glenn. All right. We are at 27 Ladd Road, notice of intent, DEP file number 300-1056, continued from September 1st, 2020, R. Jennings, 508 International, applicant, Ace Silu, owner, O'Neill, representative, replacement of decking on existing telephone bridge.
Mr. Chair, this is Stephen Chittister. I'm recused for this hearing.
Okay, thanks, Stephen.
Okay, just as a reminder, so this is a project, was continued from the September 1st meeting. You did give the applicant and representatives 5 weeks to allow for the submission of revised materials for the application plan and supporting documentation, which previously had not been submitted. Also, just a reminder that this started as a result of an enforcement order, which was issued in June of 2019. This has been in court since October of 2019, in which that was the first continuance granted to allow for the submission of a filing for the activities that occurred out there. So the last public hearing, like I said, was September 1st. As of yesterday morning, I had not received any new materials for review for this for you. I did receive 2 emails yesterday afternoon, and today some additional materials were emailed and brought into the office, which these materials have not been reviewed at this time.
Okay. Is anybody speaking on behalf of 27 Ladd Road? Andrew, are you here for them?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Don O'Neill. I'm here as the attorney for the applicant. Also, I believe.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Don. I don't see you anywhere.
And also Glenn Kravosky for the wetlands consulting work. Both of them are present, and I would defer to them in terms of a presentation to the board. So whichever of Andy or Glenn wants to go first, I guess, go ahead.
Andrew, you want me to just lead off on what we have submitted?
Yeah, why don't you go forward?
Thank you. The request by the commission was to delineate all the wetlands within 200 feet of the bridge, or of the trail, up to the Charlton line. And so as you approach the bridge, there's wetlands, before you go over it, there's wetlands to the right that go over to a ponding area. There's wetlands to the left that actually go back to Ladd Road. There's wetlands after you cross the bridge. There's wetlands again to the right that go all the way around to the Charlton line. There's wetlands to the left. I'm using the left and right. That's fine at this point. That go back to the Charlton line. All those wetlands are delineated. Andrew surveying crew people have picked up all the wetlands except for 33 flags on the B series that is left. The revised notice of intent, there was many errors in it. We've submitted that. We've submitted additional fees. It was originally under a fee of $110. It should be under a category 310 CMR 10.53J, which is a footbridge over a wetland. We have submitted that fee to the state, and we submitted that fee to the town, the additional 195 and 195, if you add that all together. 110 is already submitted, and we added that. We sent this to DEP, we sent it to the conservation. Rebecca Gendreau did state through her surrogate that there were many things that were incomplete, and one of them was the BBW data forms. We've submitted those. So now we have a complete notice of intent, complete filing fees, a delineation that we're asking for a wetland review, whether it's a peer reviewer or the commission wants to walk all those wetlands. Mr. Baum has, as of the last meeting, had revised the bridge to raise it 2 feet off the deck, use a ship lap joint on the poles to get, so that we don't have extra coverage of the land. Instead, this joint overlaps. And anyways, it's on the plan, 2 feet up. There's 95 square feet of wetland loss with the 8 total positions of holding that footbridge up, and there's a 200 square foot replication area with soil borings in it to prove that we have hybrid soils at the final cut. Plan has been revised to show erosion controls on the upgraded side of the bridge and the downgraded. We have a complete description on the project description, which wasn't complete before, that talks about the spacing of the boards on the deck, the plywood, the raising of the deck, the 1053 clause, which is where it should have been placed originally. I conceded that at the last meeting that this is a new deck, correct, and so we filed it as such, and we're ready for a site inspection. That although those 33 flags are still not on the plan that was sent in today, those are being picked up, and Mr. Baum can verify this or not, that I believe they'll be picked up tomorrow, as schedules are running tight. It has been delineated, but we know that we had to be in front of you with 95% to 100%, and we're saying we're 95, 97% there, except for a few flags, which will be done tomorrow. They're ready for a site inspection. DEP has issued the file number, I believe, but I still wanted to update them on where we stand, and that's why we PDF'd that over to Sarah, his child. So yeah, and again, that hand delivery of the check was in the lockbox. Even though we could have said, well, we don't need to send that extra money, it's a small item, because they issued the file number. We do it correctly. We do it correctly. We sent everything in. We're ready to show you this. We also talk about no erosion on the existing trail. We talk about 4 feet wide instead of 6. Talk about no vehicle traffic on this trail, and it's only for running. I believe it's everything that was discussed earlier, and it has been ongoing, but we're there. I appreciate your time to hear me. Mr. Baum, Chairman, chooses pleased to recognize you.
Andrew?
Yeah, just a couple other items to add. That 33 flags that Glenn was talking about, we're down to 18 remaining flags. I believe on the E series, that's the series to the west of the trail network at the site. In total, we've located, as of today, almost 3,000 linear feet of wetland flags for the bridge. So just to get an idea of the scope of what we're trying to locate at the Commission's behest. And the revised plan that was sent in today was mostly predicated on those wet flag locations and the resultant buffer zones. There was not any changes or alterations to the bridge design from what you guys had seen at the previous hearing. The only thing that Glenn, I'll just reiterate, we added some more erosion controls around the bridge and also at the toe of the replication area. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Committee members, Eric, you want to start off? Anything?
I don't like the fact that I have nothing to see. I do appreciate the fact that there was a lot done in the 5-week period of time. So I guess, yeah, that's it.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
David?
did Becky have comments?
Beg your pardon? Okay. Steve, you're asking for Becky to comment?
Yeah, I was asking if she had any comments. Thank you.
I guess
Becky?
my only additional comments is that, Mr. Kravosky did say it's complete. I haven't had time today to go through the whole thing. I mean, I did briefly look at some of the things that were submitted. So there does appear to be some things that would be missing, so I can't say that it is complete at this time. Review of the project description said it's for the redesign of the present footbridge. One of the concerns with that, the issue was that what was discussed initially for the notice of intent, that it was for the new structure, or it's for all activities, including the bridge structure and for the trail on there. So the project description just seemed to be a little lacking there. So, I mean, I guess, I haven't, like I said, I haven't gone through it. I mean, it was 5 weeks that you gave. Everything did come in the past 24 hours. I think that, this has been going on for over a year now, and I think you need to figure out how you want to move forward with it. Technically, I think it's still incomplete, and, depending on how you want to move forward with it, I would recommend weighing those options. I think that the issuance of a denial for insufficient information and failure to meet performance standards would still stand, but that's up to you on how you want to proceed.
Okay. Steve Haldeman?
Well, I think that if, I'm going to go with Becky on this. If she thinks that, that this is incomplete, and we have, talked about this many times, and as I recall, we were assured for the last meeting that we would have everything in hand to read. I agree with Eric. It's tough to sit here and think in terms of theoretical. I appreciate that you guys have tried, but I think that if it's incomplete still, that's a concern. That's my comment.
Well, I'm not as smart as Eric, but I feel the same way. It's really I'm not in a position that I can at tonight make a decision on this because I haven't reviewed the information. And if we've got 33 flags that we need to get on a plan, I mean I admit that's not a lot, but it's not complete. Should we plan a site visit and continue this to the next meeting?
Mr. Chair, how many
David?
continuations are we going to give them? I remember a specific question coming out at the last meeting. And that specific question was, is 5 weeks enough? And we were told without question, 5 weeks was ample. And lo and behold, 4 weeks, 6 days and a half, and we all of a sudden get all the paperwork, and it's still not complete. I appreciate the fact that some of you may be very, very busy, but this really has just continued to go on and on and on.
Becky, when did you get this information in? I'm asking you to repeat.
So yesterday at 1:39, I received an email in regards to the corporation status of 508. At 1:17 yesterday, I received an email with the BBW data forms. And then today, some materials were brought into the office. I think in the afternoon, I wasn't there when they came in. And then I received an email also this afternoon with the revised notice of intent and plan. And I had no correspondence.
So you got the revised plan today?
Yes.
I mean,
I mean, if we go back to the minutes from the first, yeah, I
know.
mean, we did specifically ask everything was to be in full, and that we weren't going to discuss this any further, and everybody agreed. And, the minute applicant's representatives requested a continuance to prepare and deliver the requested materials in full stop. This is...
Glenn, did you expect, with this information coming in today that we would be able to rule on this tonight?
No, because you still have to make a site inspection on all the flag lines. Or a peer reviewer would be hired to look at the notice of intent. But I expected that it would be in your hand, 18 flags out of 3,000 feet that will be finished. 18 flags. That's a complete notice of intent. Many revisions to that, 15 or 18 forms at NOI because somebody filled it out that before I got involved. Now it is up to snuff. A stream stat was even performed March 2nd of 02 required that. We did all that is required by the law to prove it's intermittent as required by the reg. So presented additional checks, presented that it wasn't rare species, presented that it wasn't registered land. We went through fine-tooth comb every point of that NOI, brought it up to speed, along with delineation of the wetlands, along with the surveying. And yes, the only thing that is there is 18 flags that will be picked up tomorrow, well before any site inspection that the commission can set up, unless they're setting it up for tomorrow afternoon. And I would still hope that Ambry would have some engineering to have the flags by tomorrow afternoon.
When you started your presentation on this, Glenn, it was 33 flags.
Yeah, but he corrected me, if you heard that. Mr. Andy Baum corrected me that it wasn't 33, it was 18 left.
I thought it was the other way around. Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question of Becky?
Yeah,
Becky,
of course.
Is it true that the only thing that is missing in this proposal and the new NOI is 18 flags? Because I'm not sure I followed everything that you said.
I briefly
Are we really
reviewed.
short 18 flags?
So I briefly reviewed the materials earlier. So I can't confirm that that's the only thing. I did note some things on the notice of intent. The property owner did not sign this. There's some missing information regarding the trail. We don't have property boundaries shown on the plan. I mean, I honestly, I didn't have time today to thoroughly go through it, but I do believe that the 18 flags is not the only thing. But just to add in too, that, I mean, this notice of intent started in February, and the commission requested to have everything shown and to receive a complete filing. So this has been ongoing for quite some time.
Okay. Thank you, Becky.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Don O'Neill. Could I jump in for a minute, if appropriate?
Who's speaking?
Donald O'Neill?
Who's speaking? Okay,
Of the owner.
Time out,
Glenn, time out. Glenn, one at a time.
Mute him.
Possession, Jeff.
Mr. O'Neill, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, Glenn,
Mr.
have to
O'Neill,
shut his phone off if we can't.
I did. Mr. Chairman, his phone is off. Mr. O'Neill, please go ahead.
Oh, sure. Okay. So, all I would just make the observation that I made the last time, that in terms of the time element, we all discussed the fact of the shutdown which occurred, which really, in my mind, cancels out, at least 3 months worth of the time element that's involved in terms of the shutdown that took place that affected everybody. So I think it's an exaggeration to keep focusing strictly on the date of filing without regard to everything that's transpired in the interim. I also think that I would hope that the commission would realize that when you ask for a delineation and it comes back and they're saying they've got 97% of it done and they've got 3,000 or 4,000 linear feet of wetlands that have been flagged. If it was 1 million feet of wetlands that were flagged and somebody gave you 5 weeks to do it, would you really expect that they would get it done within that period? So it sounds like the agent is focusing on, minutia in terms of complete filing. She doesn't like the description of how the project is laid out because they're talking about replacing an existing bridge. Maybe it should say a new bridge. That, to me, doesn't rise to the level of an incomplete application. If someone forgot a signature on some point, again, that, to me, is not something which is heaven or earth is not going to fall because of a missed signature on something. I think that that Andy and Glenn have worked diligently on this. They've done a tremendous amount of work. And in the abstract, to say that I'm going to give you 5 weeks to do it, and yes, you got 97% of it done. We're still, if it were 100% done, you would still be doing a site visit, I'm sure, yourself, or you would be having peer review to go out and look at it. So you're missing 8 or 10 flags, and to focus strictly on the notion that, well, we told you it had to be 100% complete. We still need to look at it and verify all the information that you provided, but you're missing 8 flags and it's not complete, so we're going to deny it. It seems like if you want to address this, the information is all available. I would also point out that we are scheduled to come back for the additional trail network, and I believe that's on at the end of this coming month. If you need to go out and do the inspection in the interim, and we can get the flags in, I honestly can't see the urgency in terms of making a point of rejecting this when it's so close to being completed, just for the sake of rejecting it, and I guess teaching the applicants a lesson that when you tell somebody it's got to be complete regardless of how big the job is and how close you get, we're going to deny you if you don't meet an artificial deadline, as far as I see. I don't see any harm that's going to transpire if this goes to, gets continued with the other meeting as discussed. If we hadn't done anything, I think that would be one thing, but clearly there's an awful lot of work that's been done, and I would hope that Rebecca, you would ask her if she would recognize that the delineation of that number of feet of wetland is a pretty major undertaking, and the fact that it's all done but for a few flags shows a real effort on the part of the consultants to provide you the information that you want. And I think it's I'm not sure what's going on in terms of the making a statement when you have this information without regard to all the work that was done. And I would hope that you would prevail and that you would take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Gentlemen, we have to decide where we want to go. Just, Mr. O'Neill, just for one point, though, just for clarity, and I think you have some good points, but you realize that we didn't give you 5 weeks. We asked you what you wanted, and you took 5 weeks.
Oh, no,
that was
what happened was there were two members who voted
there was no you will
at all.
In 5 weeks.
Yeah. I don't know that when we did that, clearly until Glenn got out into the field, he didn't know how many linear feet of wetlands that he was going to find. Maybe he would have found 100 feet of wetlands. And then I'm sure it would all be there. Or instead of 3,000, he would have found
You're
2,700.
changing it. The point is, the point is that you stated that we gave you a target.
And you don't know that until you get out in the field.
It was a larger job than you knew that it was, and so you haven't completed it. That's what you're telling me.
I
agree with some of your other
think
points.
we've done 97% of it. The last 3% will be done in another day or two. That's what I'm telling you. And I think that if they had known that perhaps that it was that number of feet, which they couldn't have possibly have known until they went out into the field, then maybe we would have asked for an additional week or an additional day. One more day would have done it. Thank you.
Right.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Gentlemen, David.
Mr. Chairman, we are getting hung up on the fact that it is only 5 weeks. That is an incorrect statement. Becky started this whole thing off by telling us how far back this went. It could have been out in the field 4 or 5 months ago. However,
all right. I think we need not to go back. We've got to go forward, one way or another. Jeff?
This is a public hearing. Did you want to hear from anybody from the public other than Mr. O'Neill?
We haven't.
One more statement, please.
no.
Is there anyone on the
Mr.
public
Chairman.
line who would speak in regards to the notice of intent for 27 Lad Road, DEP file number 300-1056?
There's no one on the public line for that other than Mr. O'Neill.
Okay, and he has spoken.
All
right. Hearing none. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing? Mr. Barnacle? Mr. Halterman?
This is Steve Halterman. Could I ask another question before we shut this down? It's
Sure, of course.
amongst
That's why
us, not. Okay, thank you.
Well, you can close the public hearing and then ask the question amongst us.
Okay. Good enough. Then I move we close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Eric Gaspar, second.
Discussion.
I have, well, first of all, it was about 3 meetings back that I said, if you promise and commit to having everything done by the next meeting, then I would have, because we were all ready to shut this project down. Not shut it down, make you go back to the drawing board and do it right and come back with all the information. I was pretty hot under the collar. The next meeting, you didn't have the information, so then we said that again. Could you please commit that you'll have everything? I am so freaking irritated about the way this thing has gone. I mean, I've been on the other side of this thing. I've been the consultant. And shame on me in times where I worked on a project for a year and I didn't have an idea how extensive the wetlands would be, is just really, I don't want to go there. But on the other hand, if we're going to do a site visit anyway to look at the flags, then I think, and well, I tell you, I'm going to have trouble going to sleep tonight, but I think that we should do the site visit and pick a time when those flags are going to be up and the signature is going to be gotten, and I forgot what the boundary is going to be noted. And then we bring this back up yet another, add the expletive meeting. I think that's reasonable.
And thank you, Steve, for talking and taking me off the ledge, because I was just very angry with the arrogance with which Mr. O'Neill is dealing with this board, and the lack of acknowledgement of the fact that we have brains and remember the conversation specific if you, sir, have an issue with the way that we are going about things, then why don't you have the respect for us for being honest and just come to us and say, I apologize, we misunderstood how much work needs to be done, and we apologize, and we are asking for some additional time. But no, you have decided to just lie to us or gaslight us, making this our issue because we put an artificial deadline on you. I guess I didn't calm down, Steve. But
I haven't calmed down.
But
I'm pissed.
I am not going to allow that to cloud my decision in the interest of fairness, because I do believe that Mr. Baum and Mr. Kravosky have been out there doing this work. But I will not stand for this arrogance any longer. So you better come correct, Mr. O'Neill, and check your tone, and don't insult my intelligence again, or lie to me, or gaslight me again, because I will not take it lightly. That's all I have to say.
David?
Well put.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the vote.
No, I'd like to, can I speak? I think that everything, and listening to what everybody has to say, I have sympathy in each position. But the one thing that I feel that Mr. O'Neill said that I always agree with when it comes along is that a great deal of work has been done since the last time they were in here. And I think we should look at possibility of a continuation and go out and do a site visit, and we can. There will be no harm by doing that, other than to find out exactly where we are, and if this 97% is the 35%, then we'll know it. And that would be the way I'd like to see us go, because that's going, doing what we're supposed to be doing. And I have seen many projects that sit and don't do anything. This did sit. They brought us a bridge. They tried to scam us with a bridge that they said was there for 100 years and the farmer had used and all that. And we went through that, and we came out the other side, and they agreed to go and mark the trail, which I believe they've done. They came up with what I consider to be a good plan for the bridge, but they're not where they need to be. And I don't know. There's a lot of information that I haven't looked at with regard to their plan. So I'd like to look at it, have a continuation, and go on a site visit. That's my personal, what I'd like to see. That said, Mr. Barnacle, now what do you want to do?
I still would like to move the motion. However, before that, you made some inferences that I feel are not accurate. We have been very patient with this project. We have time after time after time given continuations and promises. And time after time after time, the promises have not been met. And when Becky calls them a week ahead of time and says, where is the paperwork? It comes in on Monday night after the office is closed so that nobody gets to read it before Tuesday night's meeting. This is not a new thing that just happened this one time. This happens over and over again and has for months on end. And I feel the same way that two of our members have already spoken about. We have at least 4 separate times this year, 2020, said, you know what, we're going to shut this thing down because we're not getting the information. And it's not only we're not getting the information timely, we're not getting the information. Becky has to write another memo.
I think it's in bed.
Again.
All right, let's have a, David, let's have a motion.
I think we have to fully close the public hearing officially. I don't think we've done that. We haven't voted to close the public hearing yet. So I move to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the
Do I have
motion.
a second on that?
Steve Halterman.
Steve Haldeman
yeah,
seconded the motion. Any discussion on that? All in favor of closing the public hearing? Mr. Barnacle?
David Barnacle in favor.
Mr. Haldeman?
Steve Halterman in favor.
Eric Gaspar?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Ed Goodwin, not in favor. It passes 3-1.
Okay.
Do I have a motion from any one of you three gentlemen?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to extend this for I assume we have an extension being requested by the applicant. It got lost in my anger in the conversation. So I'm going to make a motion that we set up a site visit for next Tuesday, and we extend this public hearing to the 20th of October.
All right. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that. Yeah, Steve Halterman, I second it.
You can't extend it.
All right, discussion.
This is
We've had
David.
plenty of discussion.
For
Go
discussion.
ahead, David.
You do realize that we've closed the public hearing, which means that whatever information we get, we can discuss at the next meeting, but nobody else can join the discussion. Because the public hearing has been closed.
Okay. All right. So
I just
With
want
that,
you to know,
that's-
it doesn't come as a surprise.
that's just a point. Yeah, I agree. All right, now we go to the vote. Any other comments on that?
So procedurally, just since we're taking the temperature down a little bit, thank you for pointing that out, David. I apologize for doing that incorrectly. Procedurally, should I take back my motion to close the public hearing, and should we leave it so we have the option to discuss in the future?
Someone who voted against it and asked for reconsideration.
All right, well, that was me. And I'd like a reconsideration. Do I have a second?
I move we reconsider. Unless that was the motion, then I second it.
That was to reconsider. Any discussion, David?
The motion to
All in
reconsider,
favor of?
it has to come from you, Ed. Because you voted.
I already
against
did that.
Oh, then
I did
Stephen-
that.
Then Halterman must have.
And Stephen seconded it. Yeah. So now I'm asking for reconsideration of closing the public hearing. Any discussion? All in favor? David?
David Barnacle opposed.
Stephen?
Stevens recused himself.
No, I'm sorry, Steve. Steve.
Yes.
Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. So we now open the public hearing.
Now I'd like to make a motion to continue this discussion, to continue this public hearing until the 20th of October with a scheduled site visit for next week.
You all right with that, Glenn?
Yes, that's right. Yes, a meeting is.
Okay,
Thank you
all
very
right.
much.
You have to have a second.
Yeah, I'm looking for a second. I just wanted to find out for sure that the applicant wanted a continuation.
That's what
Do I have a second?
I'll second
Halterman.
it. Steve Halterman.
Discussion. Seeing none, we'll go to vote. All in favor of a continuation? Mr. Barnacle?
David Barnacle, no.
No. Steve Haldeman?
Steve Halterman, yes.
Eric
Gaspar, yes.
And Ed Goodwin, yes. So we have a continuation till the next meeting. All
I
right?
interject one thing. You do have the signature of the owner. It's in the previous notice of intent. It's in your possession. They walked into the town hall, signed the original notice of intent, Mr. Salou. So Mr. Rebecca Gendreau was incorrect that you don't have the signature of the owner.
This
Okay.
is, I just want to add to clarify this,
Take the win, Glenn.
the revised notice of intent with the revised project description was not signed.
All right.
Notice is in
All
your
right.
possession.
All right, that's enough. We're not gonna,
That's
we're
enough.
not gonna,
Close the
that
public
is
hearing.
enough. It's closed. Yep.
Thank you.
All right, we are now to, where are we at, Becky? What time frame are we at? That was,
Yep. So just to add, that public hearing is continued till 7:45 on October 20th. We're now at 715 82 Paradise Lane. And that's notice of intent.
all right.
Go ahead, you can read it if you want.
We don't have a DP file number yet?
Correct.
Okay. 82 Paradise Lane, notice of intent, DP file number 300-TBA. G. Ellis, owner applicant, repair of a retaining wall. Becky, go ahead.
Yep, so this one, the applicant failed to place the legal ad on time. So this has been postponed to October 20th at 6:45.
All right. Good. And 7:30, 7 Cove Drive, notice of intent, DEP file number 300-1074. Cantasquar, owner, applicant. L. Jalbert Engineering, representative, construction of a single-family home with associated site work. They've requested Lenny called and requested a continuation because there's still discussion over the boundary between between the site they're building on and the neighbor. So I said we'd be fine with that, and that will be continued to the next meeting.
Yep, so that was
Okay.
rescheduled till 7:30 on October 20th, earlier today.
All right. We are now at, we're 3 minutes behind schedule. It's now 7:48. We're at 7:45.
Mr. Chair, this is
118. Stephen?
Do we need to vote on that continuation? Or just reschedule?
Well, yeah, we can vote on it. I verbally told Lenny that he didn't have to show up.
I would vote on it for
So
the
I feel
record.
kind of,
Yep.
all right, for the record. We told them at the site that they needed to have the boundary correct, that there would be concern over approving a plan that they could be building on the property.
Mr. Chairman, for the sake of the record, we need to have an official vote.
Right, okay. Mr. Barnacle, how do you vote on
In favor.
continuation for 7 Cove Drive? In favor?
Vote in favor.
Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Okay. Stephen Chidester?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Steve Halderman?
Steve Halterman in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Now, you guys have made me even later. 7:45, 118 Lead Mine Lane, Lot 189 Lead Mine Lane. I don't know why that, Notice of intent, DEP file number 300-1073, A. Kelleher, owner and applicant. N. Hill, Land Planning, Inc., representative, construction of a single-family home, well and septic. All right. Becky?
So this is a new notice of intent. I'd like to open it up to the applicant and the representative to
Okay.
go over first. And I'll pull up the plan here for you in a second.
Yep.
But actually, just to add, there was a there was a revised plan that was received today, and I can put that up for the commission as well.
Wait a minute, time out. Hold on one second, please, Mr. Chair. Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I fixed it.
Yeah, we were getting feedback from your microphone, so I muted you, so just kind of be conscious of that.
I think it's because I'm logged into my computer. I'll shut that off. Okay, sorry about that. So my name is Brian Hill. Norman is in several meetings tonight. He couldn't be here at this time. I'm a professional land surveyor with the Land Planning Inc. I did extensive work on this property, surveying the existing.
Mr. Hill?
Hold on a minute, Jeff?
Mr. Hill, you have to slow down your speech and speak into the microphone, please.
Okay, all right.
Where are you? He left the meeting.
Whoops.
I didn't say that slow.
That's good.
For clarification,
There he is.
hey, hang on, through the chair.
Yeah.
Are we on the 730 Seven Cove Drive?
No, we're
I thought
done
I
with
heard you
that.
say 118 left.
Yeah, we just continued that one.
I did.
Okay.
That's what we're on. No problem, Stephen. Yep.
Mr. Hill back?
Brian, you there now?
Yeah, sorry, I think I fixed it. So I'm here to represent Gary Gallagher for this development of Lot 1 on which is cut off from 118 Lead Mine Lane. This property was cut off and noted not to have wetlands, and I don't know if that's what happened here, but Mr. Gallagher crossed the wetland and did some work near the wetland. We were hired after the fact when we came out, and we flagged the wetland, but the amount of fill of the garage, where the garage the exact line of that.
Brian, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Sorry, we brought in Bob Murphy to help us here exactly with the wetland fill. He helped with the soils and reviewed our wetland line. And then Mr. Murphy also came up with a planting plan that you can see now that we've added to the plan. Since we first submitted this plan, the only revision is the planting plan and detail and schedule. There was a few typos on the plan that has also been corrected, but they're of minor consequence. The real change here was the planting detail and schedule. There was one other question brought up about riverfront areas. There is a stream to the west of Lead Mine Road. That stream is about 300 feet from the property, the stream channel. We did a stream stats on that one originally anyway, and the stream stats south of our property was below the threshold. There's a stream also about 150 feet to the east of this property. That stream is also, we've run a stream stats. We did that before we flagged the wetlands, and we found that was way below the threshold as well for a stream. And we have those stream stats that we've shared with you. The USGS map it's a little unclear. It starts perennial, it turns into a swamp, it turns back to perhaps a solid line. It's hard to decipher, but we use the stream stats there as our first determination to really get this right from the start. So I think we've presented that all correctly to you guys. I think, you've already been over this once, so I don't want to go over everything here. But that's everything that's new at this point.
Okay. Becky?
Yeah, so going over, we did a site visit out here last week. I did go back out afterwards just to look at the wetland delineation. And over by the garage area, there was a good amount of historic fill, did some digging over there. I think that area should get looked at a little bit more. Within the wetland area, there was a bit of a channel that was dug and a channel out to the road. I think that area needs to get included in the restoration plan for the impact that was there as well. I'm happy to see the additional plantings in the restoration area. Because it was received today, I didn't have time to thoroughly read all the notes on the plan to better advise you on what's on here. But this is an improvement over what was there. However, I do think that the delineation should get looked at a little bit more, especially where the garage area is, just so we can verify that that we've adequately figured out where the delineation is because of the historic fill. In addition, I did walk down to the lower portion of the property and onto the adjacent property to walk the wetland line down there. And I do think that there's some additional wetland that should be flagged down there to be looked at that would project a buffer zone onto the property. And then as far as the riverfront area, going back to the wetland regs, you know, what's first looked at is that the stream is mapped as a perennial stream on the most current topo maps, and therefore it would be considered perennial. I do understand and appreciate your submission of the stream stats, but it was, when the previous project was reviewed on this property, it was deemed perennial and reviewed for a riverfront area. So I think that, I mean, the wetland regs do outline a process that if you wanted to show if a stream was not perennial. Otherwise, I do think that the commission, based off my review of that, would be looking at that as perennial per what the regs say, unless shown otherwise.
And can I just speak to that for just a minute? So I do have aerial imagery in my AutoCAD drawing, and it's accurately located. And I can see the stream pretty clearly to the east. And like I said, the channel at the closest point is about 150 feet from the site. And that would overlap our sediment barrier by about 10 to 20 feet. And that, if you look at our plan in the southeast corner, the only thing that we're proposing that would even be in that riverfront area is the vista pruning, which we are keeping planted as junipers to keep it low growth.
Okay, and that's what, I mean, that's what I was asking, you know, because we know we had that on the old Jalbert plan. I think that should be get picked up, and like I said before, I wasn't even sure where the riverfront would project onto this property or if you were even working in it. So I think that's something that could be easily resolved, but I think that because riverfront area is a resource area, that it does need to be shown, and if there is work in there, that's something that they have to look at the regs for what's allowed. So I think it's something that can be resolved and looked into, but I think it has to be done that way. So
if you look at the screen right here, you can, the site is located where the E and the L are, and you can see the stream to the southeast of the lot, and the one across the road as well, which is on the edge of the map.
okay. Yeah, and I don't think the one on the west side of the road is shown as perennial on there, so that could be seen as an intermittent stream. So I don't have any concerns with that one. It's just the one on the east side that's on 118 Lead Line. All right, so
I'd like to share with you, here's the stream stats report for that watershed. As you can see where we've clicked, let me get you in.
But we can't see your screen.
Yeah, you can see where we
Jeff, can you share this? Can he share his screen?
Yeah.
No, I'm actually using my camera. I'm just using my camera. I just flipped it to the other side.
Where's your screen?
Can you see my camera?
Hold on 1 second. Let me see. That's the best he can do.
Yeah, I don't think that's giving adequate indication
Yeah.
And yeah,
where we're at. I mean,
this report, I can send this again if you don't have the link. But the important part is that the 99% duration is at 0.002. So it's about 1/5 the cutoff on the, and then the I can tell you the square mileage as well. It's 0.25 square miles. So it's a quarter of a square mile watershed area.
yeah, no, I understand.
We always do this first before we flag a wetland. We always run the stream stats on any questionable stream or really any intermittent stream. We always run a stream stat. First thing we do. And then perennial streams, obviously, they're,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah,
they're
this one's shown as perennial though. So for perennial, in order to show it's not perennial, there is a process outlined, and that's documenting, no flow conditions over a period of time, et cetera. So, I mean, we can go back and look what the regs say, if it's
I think I'd almost rather, maybe you're right, maybe instead we should show where the 200-foot mark is. Like I said, it's only overlapping the vista pruning. And the reason we should do that is because it's going to take too long. My client needs to get this foundation in before the frost sets in. He'd like to do everything he can to do everything you want to get this foundation in a timely fashion here.
Okay, well, the commission can discuss that among themselves. I just think that riverfront area should be shown. So with the concerns with the wetland lines, the riverfront area, and the restoration, I mean, it may be advisable to have a peer reviewer look at that with them. That's up to the board. As far as the project as proposed, I'd like that we see, let me put the screen back on here, that the driveway has been relocated outside of the resource area, so there's no direct impact there. Some things for consideration for the board for the driveway is thinking about runoff coming down there. There was some significant runoff concern coming down the road that does go further down the road and into the resource area, so it's something they should take into consideration. And then also the area of the vista pruning is a pretty steep slope that does lead down to a resource area. So I just didn't know, and it's something maybe the commission can take into consideration, if there's an alternative to the vista clearing that would meet the needs of the applicant, that would give him the views of the lake that he's looking for, that might keep the forest floor and some of the vegetation there, so that way there's not runoff into the resource area from that. And then also, just to remind the commission too, that when we got involved with this, there was some outstanding conditions related to the permit issued for the raise and rebuild on 118 lead mine that I know that the applicant has indicated that he's working on, but those things are still outstanding and haven't been addressed to date. And just so I don't forget too, I do have public comment to provide afterwards that was received in writing for the board too. But that's all I have at this time.
All right. Mr. Barnacle?
Having heard from the applicant and from Rebecca, I would not like to move forward on this project until the previous conditions have been met, because that seems to be the only way that we will get those conditions met. It is not our problem that, in fact, they need to get the concrete in before the frost sets in. This has been going on for several months, and we tried to get an environmental person involved in this several months ago. So until those conditions that have not been met yet are met, I'm not in favor of moving forward with the project.
Okay. Steve Haldeman?
Yeah, I agree with Dave. I'm not going to repeat what he said, but I agree that this is, we're not ready. We don't have the information. We've asked for it. We're just not getting it. So I'd say let them finish getting the information for us and come back.
Eric?
Becky, I have a question for you. When we were out on site, the applicant had mentioned that when the perk test was done, that there was another member of the town, I think it was somebody from the Board of Health, is that correct? Because it looked like there was additional disturbance up top. Were you able to go back and talk to whoever that was and get their opinion on whether or not the footprint of where the house is going would additionally disturb more than what would be required to just do a regular perk test?
I did. Actually, I had the Board of Health agent did accompany me on the site visit and another one that day, so he did verify that disturbance was from the perk test up top.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted verification of that.
Mr. Chair, hold on one second.
Nothing else.
Mr. Chair, where are you?
Go ahead.
Mr. Hill, we're getting
Jeff, what?
feedback on your microphone somehow. Do you have your volume turned up too loud? Do you get a radio in the background?
No, no radio, nothing.
All right. Maybe turn your volume down a little bit on your speaker.
I did.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Steve, I see you leaning forward. I figured.
I think I spoke.
Okay. Stephen?
Yeah, and additionally, we haven't received the information. We haven't gotten the, had the actions taken that we requested previously. And I'd also say that, we may need a third-party review of this particular site.
I'm sorry. It's been mentioned several times that there's missing information. Specific information is missing.
I think what they mean, Brian, is we had requested a restoration on this property or a restoration plan a long time ago, and now the restoration plan is being attached to a new house development, and they're kind of separate issues. So I think it's maybe just a phrasing a question or concern, but the wetland has been impacted, and at least to my opinion at this point, nothing's been done to really address that. And I think that's what the other members of the commission are referencing.
I thought we had already showed you the septic design at one point and met on this. I didn't realize that a septic design was out of the question at this point. This is the same property. It's all going to be the same order of conditions. So we'll have to, you want us to just address that and then septic design later? Is that what you're saying? Because I need to specific here so we can move forward.
So just to add, in addition,
Are you asking us
there's
about
an
a
open
septic design?
I'm asking if it's okay to have a septic design or if the septic design needs to be fully removed, because it sounded like you said the septic design needs to be fully removed from the site plan.
No, that's not what I
Design
said.
removed from the site plan?
It
I
sounds
didn't
like
hear
that's,
that.
because, well, we have a restoration plan and we have a septic design. It's all on one site plan. It's all meant to be done simultaneously. I mean, we have a cease and
Right.
desist. We can't do anything.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right. You have a cease and desist, and the violations have not been resolved. I think
So you're
that's the
saying
bottom line.
all violations, and then we can talk about a septic design? I thought we were doing that all simultaneously. We're trying to do that simultaneously.
Brian, you might
Well, you
not be-
put the oh, go ahead, Becky.
I was going to say, Brian, you might not
Go
be
ahead, Becky.
aware, there's also an open orders of conditions that hasn't been fully satisfied on the property from previous work on 118 Lead Mine Lane. And that's something that the commission asked, and there's some additional work that occurred down there without permitting. So that, in addition to the wetland restoration up here, is what the commission would like to get back into compliance as well.
So check those two boxes first. I just want to be clear.
It's a little more than checking boxes, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, to put it simply, yeah.
Okay, I got you. Sorry. Having a bad day today.
I heard some of you about that.
You and me both, Steve.
You know,
Stephen, anything on this? Stephen, see?
Yeah, I already commented. That I'm good.
Okay. As I look at it, the idea of a third-party review seems, because of the damage that's been done to the site, it seems to me that it is an ideal candidate for a third-party review, just to get somebody else's clarity on what was there and what we need to do in order to bring it back to what it was.
Can I ask you guys a question? I've said this before many boards. Is there any reason why an 81P plan is not first an ANRAD and then an 81P? I don't understand why an 81P doesn't have to refer to an ANRAD. It doesn't make sense to me. I do this for a living, and I don't understand the disconnect.
I don't think they asked for an ANRAD plan. If that's what you.
No, I'm saying they've had an 81P approved that said there's no wetlands on the property, and yet there was never an ANRAD to determine it.
They had an A&R plan that they submitted to the planning department, but there was nothing submitted to the Conservation Commission determining there was no wetlands on the property.
Oh, no. I understand that is the process. I just don't understand the disconnect. And you and many other boards, you're all have the same disconnect between wetlands and new lots, and I don't quite understand it. But we'd be willing to do the work if it was required. Maybe I'm just saying that.
Okay, well, you realize an A&R is an approval not required, and that you can make a lot out of anything in the middle of a wetland.
But zoning bylaws require upland area. It's really a catch-22 there.
I don't think
Ours do.
the Conservation Commission.
Brian, would you say that again?
On behalf of that
You're
plan.
speaking very rapidly and mumbling, and I cannot understand you. Would you say that again, please?
I said that the zoning bylaws often require a specific upland area. So an 81P plan can't go forward without wetlands. So I don't quite understand why an ANRAD wouldn't come first. This has nothing to do with our project. This is in general.
I agree. I think an ANRAD would make sense, but it's not required, Brian, through the zoning planning process for the A&R plan. I mean, that's outside of the Conservation Commission. I would always recommend that someone does that as part of their planning process, but we can't require that, especially when they're going for A&R approval. Like I said, highly recommend it.
It would. Right.
Well, we've got to move this.
Okay. Good night, guys. Sorry about that.
Anything else? Comments from?
Yep, we're going to do comments from the
We'd like
public.
To
address exactly what you.
We're going to get public comment.
Jeff, could we?
Yep, checking right now.
I have to read one, too. Is there anyone on the public line who would like to speak to the notice of intent for 118 Lead Mine Lane, Lot 1, 89 Lead Mine Lane, DEP file number 300-1073?
There's no one on the public line, but there is a received public comment written.
Yep, so I have an email from Matthew Watsky. He says, please share comments with the commissioners. It is not clear to me whether the video link allows me to comment during the public hearing. I am providing this email as my comments and ask that you read this out loud. Good evening. I am Matthew Watsky. I co-own the lots shown on the assessor's map as 116 and 114 Lead Mine Lane, which abut the site at 118 Lead Mine Lane. I have reviewed the NOI and site plan and have spoken with Gary Kelleher about the project. I want to state up front, I am not opposed to the use and development of the lot for the proposed single-family house. I am advocating, however, that you evaluate and ultimately approve a plan to use the existing access at the top of the hill where Lead Mine Lane intersects with Gladding Lane as the point of access for the driveway. I urge the commissioners to view the NOI plan as the alternative analysis to a driveway at the existing access into the lot from Lead Mine Lane. Any work that proposes wetlands loss has to go through an alternative analysis. The existing access, if used for the permanent driveway, would result in a small permanent direct impact to an area of wetlands and would require creation of a replication area, but is the better location in every way for a driveway into this lot. I encourage the commission to, 1, request a revised alternative plan that shows a minimum width driveway to access the house site from the existing disturbed area that is already used for access into the lot, and 2, to compare that with the NOI plan, and 3, to approve the use of the location of the existing access. The existing point of access is the better location from an environmental and public safety perspective. The existing point of access is nearly flat. It has an area long since cleared of trees and would require no more tree clearing to access the site. It is where Lead Mine Lane is at its widest and provides a safe means of access and egress for the owner and for all public safety equipment. It is located directly opposite from the T intersection of the 2 dirt roads, Gladding Lane and Lead Mine Lane. It is also immediately adjacent to the existing driveway and the clearing on the lot to the north, the Clegg's property, so it would concentrate the clearing of the woods into that previously opened area. More specifically, the benefits of using the existing cleared area for the driveway include, since it is flat, it poses no concern about stormwater management or erosion or sedimentation, either during construction or long-term. By using this flat area for access, the driveway will not result in discharge of increased volumes, increased peak rates of stormwater into the dirt road, country drainage, or ultimately to the pond. Rather, the site could be carefully graded to maintain the flows into the existing perch wetlands that is adjacent to the road. Access into the site at that location would be simple to construct and to manage. Use of a topographically flat area for a driveway is consistent with good land planning concepts. An area in which to provide the wetlands replication for the permanent area of the driveway crossing is easily available in the altered area. An engineered design of a minimum width driveway in this area should result in a far smaller permanent wetlands loss as compared with the area temporarily altered to provide access for the septic test pitting. And thus some of the previously altered wetland area could be restored in place. From a public safety perspective, the flat area is easily accessible by police, fire, and ambulance emergency vehicles. It has a wide, solid surface on Lead Mine Lane in which to turn into and out of the lot, and no risk of slippery winter conditions interfering with that access, in contrast with the steeply sloped NOI plan location. The existing access location is consistent with good land planning concepts that call for intersections to be located where possible, directly opposite of existing intersections, and located where the topography does not create a potentially hazardous situation. In contrast, the proposed driveway shown in the NOI plan, while avoiding the small area of direct wetlands impacts, is the less favorable alternative when one weighs all concerns, including Lead Mine Lane is steeply sloped at the NOI driveway point of intersection, downhill towards the stream and the pond. The NOI driveway location is also steeply sloped at about 12 feet in grade over 100 feet of length, equals approximately 11% slope down towards its intersection with Lead Mine Lane. Although it is feasible to build such a driveway, it will require far more management during and after construction to maintain it and prevent erosion along the driveway itself, and along Lead Mine Lane, which has an unstable roadside drainage and an only partially stabilized surface of millings. Emergency vehicles, especially larger ones as fire trucks, may not be able to make a left turn coming downhill on Lead Mine Lane into the steeply sloped uphill NOI driveway. Lead Mine Lane in this location has a very narrow single track width. I have suggested to Gary Kelleher, and I urge the commission to seek input from the fire chief on whether the fire chief would support construction and use of the NOI driveway as shown on the plan. The commission should seek the fire chief's opinion whether use of an existing point of access is acceptable location from a public safety perspective. The NOI plan location will also result in more tree clearing than the alternative. I do not have a CAD system to aid in the calculation, but roughly estimate another 5,000 to 7,500 square feet of mature wooded area that would be cleared if the NOI plan is used, as compared to using the existing access location. Given that the entire area would be cleared for the NOI driveway, steeply sloped, clearing that area would generate far more runoff than use of the existing flat cleared area. Of course, everything can be engineered and it is possible to manage the added stormwater and risk of erosion on the dirt road, but use of that area would pose a long-term management burden for the homeowner and the commission. Where previously cleared flat access is available, it is far preferable to use the cleared flat location than to clear a new area of woods on a steep slope. Thank you for your consideration. I hope that the commission will ask the applicant to provide an alternative plan and seriously consider approving an alternative using the flat access. Matt Watsky.
All right.
Well,
We have email copies of that, Beck?
I did receive that today. I can provide that to you.
Okay. Yeah.
please do.
Where do we go from here? We've got,
Brian asked
anybody
for
have
continuing.
any comments?
I could address this slightly. So the driveway we've shown doesn't cross the wetland. The driveway we proposed doesn't go in the 25-foot no-touch zone. The driveway we proposed doesn't exceed 12%. The driveway we proposed meets all of the regulations. So I disagree that a driveway crossing the wetland is better. But he is correct. This will, restoring the wetlands and moving a driveway will require us to cut down trees where the new driveway goes. So his comments are correct that this will require us to cut down trees, but the plan is to restore another area.
Okay.
The difference is they're going to cut down trees in the upland, and we are concerned about the wetland is our purview.
Right.
And
So,
Mr. Chairman,
I agree with you. Per the state laws, I agree with you.
yeah, Mr. Chairman, we don't have to make a decision on this, and we've heard some good comments, and I'd like to read that again, what Mr. Watsky has proposed and presented. But there are some things that are ahead of that in terms of taking care of the violations. So we, in my opinion, we do not have to make take any action on this tonight, except not moving forward with the NOI, but letting them take care of those violations. And there's a report that's due to us exactly how they're going to do that. I know they've made some notes on the plan, but on the NOI plan. So there's a little bit ahead of us making final decisions on that driveway, in my opinion.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we ask the applicant if he would like to have a continuation so that they can fulfill all of the requirements that had not been fulfilled in the past.
Yes, absolutely. We want a continuation so that we can meet those requirements. Absolutely.
And how much time would you need, Brian?
Everything required of us to move forward.
How much time would you need to be able to develop that?
Yeah.
I'm not privy to the other lot. I have very little information as to what's required on the other lot at the time. So I'll have to review that before I can tell you exactly how long.
All right. So you'll get back to Becky, or you'll ask for a continuation, but you don't know how long. So
I'd
you'll
like
get to Becky.
Meeting. I know my client wants to push forward. If we have to continue further, we'll submit application for that.
Now, within that scope, though, there's a couple of us that are concerned about and would like to look at a third-party review as an alternative.
Okay.
I bring that up again at this point because I don't want to drag anything out. If the board's going to feel that to find the wetlands and protect the wetlands, that we're going to need a third-party review, we need to let the applicant know. I don't know, just a show of hands at this point in time, how people feel. I don't want, he's going to go back and... Go ahead, Steve.
The resolving of the violations, I mean, they know what they need to do, and I think that they know that, and that should be the highest priority that they have. Is that not right, Becky? Am I not missing something?
Correct. I mean, I did provide information on
Yeah.
the past permit and what the
Right.
things are that need to be done, so I can re-provide
right.
that to Brian.
So we're at a continuation.
If I may, Gary Kelleher here. If I may, I've asked many times, Rebecca Univac talked about many times about allowing me to get in there and start some of that work from the original OOC. And I keep being told, no, you can't. There's a cease and desist. So it appears to me that everybody's referencing that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do in there to clean up. However, you're not letting me in there to clean it up. We know what the lower part, I call it the lower part, where the house lot is. We know what has to be done. Rebecca, we've talked about it many times, but I'm not permitted. And I keep asking the question I did during the site visit last week. Please let me get in and start cleaning it up. And I keep getting told, no, you can't. So I am not delaying this process. I want it cleaned up. And we have the original OOC from Mr. Pinto way before me.
But there's a cease and desist. There's a cease and desist that runs over the whole property right now.
Correct.
Right.
So how can he do the work?
So the commission's asked for a restoration plan since the beginning to hire a wetland scientist and develop a restoration plan. review the old orders of conditions and see what the outstanding conditions are. There was some mitigation planting that was required for alteration within riverfront area that may not have been done at that time. So, I mean, everybody wants that to get cleaned up, but like we talked about in the site visit, without a restoration plan, knowing exactly what needs to be done, someone looking at it and giving the specific details on how to do that restoration work, that's usually the first step for the commission versus letting someone go in and potentially doing more harm and impact, not knowing what and where they need to be doing that work. So
you're talking restoration on the other lot, so I'm getting confused because
there's
restoration on this lot.
There's restoration on both of it. And Brian, I'm happy to talk to you tomorrow and give you that information, but that's been outlined for quite some time, maybe before you were involved in the project.
And also, so you know, Brian,
All right, so
the restoration plan was way back, and they do have that, but they just won't let me act on it. They do have the restoration plan for the house area. You do. You approved the restoration plan through Mr. Pinto prior to me. And as we all agreed, I inherited his problems. I get it. There was a restoration plan, a planting plan. Rebecca knows of that. We've talked about that, but I'm still not permitted to do the work.
Gary, that's not what I was referring
We
to.
haven't
I
seen the
mean,
plan.
you had mentioned that there's two restoration plans, I guess, here. So there's the restoration for the new wetland impacts, and that's up at the top part where the new house is. And there's also some wetland fill that occurred down by the older house, which we now will call 118 Lead Mine Lane. And when the orders of conditions were issued to Mr. Pinto, who was the previous property owner, there was mitigation restoration work that was required as part of that project. That didn't get done. You and I have had conversations about this, and you know, I came out and you said that you didn't feel like some of that work needed to be done, that restoration, those plantings that were required for the project. And that's where I had said, I mean, if that's your opinion, I think you need to come back to the board and you know, show them why that work doesn't need to get done. I mean, if there's plantings you want to put in that follow that restoration plan for the old orders of conditions, I mean, that's the intent. We want the restoration work to be done. It was my understanding that you felt that some of that work didn't need to be done. But just to be clear too, I mean, the orders of conditions, from what I can tell for the history, I mean, they were issued to Mr. Pinto, who you know, filed the notice of intent, got the permit. It's my understanding he put the septic in, but the rest of the work done on the project under the permit was done under yourself, Mr. Kelleher. So you did work under this permit. So, you know, it is, you know, and it does carry with the deed. So it is, you know, your permit. So, I mean, if there's plantings, you want to put the plantings in as part of that original restoration plan for the orders of conditions, I think the commission would be fine with that, and I'd recommend that you're allowed to do that. The restoration, the actual wetland impact restoration work, that can't be done without, you know, an approved plan by the board. Because we don't know, is there 6 inches of fill, is there 12 inches of fill? How is that work going to be done? Who's going to oversee it? How do you restore the wetland? So that really is what needs the plan, and that does encompass areas with the new house and the old house. So I hope that clarifies, and like I said, I'm happy to speak to Mr. Hill tomorrow and give him all the materials and go over that.
Yeah, I mean, there's two options here. One is that the work is complete. We could do a certificate of compliance, but it doesn't sound like it is. So then in order to complete the work, he'd need a partial lift of the cease and desist. Otherwise, it's a catch-22.
Agreed.
So,
okay.
Right. And the
I think at this point in time, we've beaten this to a continuation. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask the applicant, are you okay, Gary, with doing the restoration that should have been done under the old permit if we were to give you a partial approval to go ahead and do that work to at least allow you to get moving forward on that property? Are you okay with the restoration plan that's already been laid out? Because if it's already been laid out and already been approved, I'm okay with you just going ahead and doing it. But if you're going to plan on making any changes to what's already been laid out, then we need to discuss that further. So I guess where are you at with that restoration plan under the Pinto? I'll call it the Pinto permit.
I'm full agreement, Eric. I want to go in there and do that work, and I don't remember ever saying that I felt some of that work did not have to be done. I want to follow that plan. I want the work done. I've asked many times. The plan has been submitted and approved. I just want to get in and clean it up. That's all.
Okay. Well, then I would recommend or make a motion to do a partial lift of the cease and desist to allow them to do that work, very narrow scope, just adhering to that Pinto permit and following to the adherence of what needs to be done. And so he can at least start that portion of his project.
Do we
Do you have a second on that?
plan that has been approved?
So there's a
Yes.
historic,
Final,
there's a historic restoration mitigation plan that was with the permit. And that calls for plantings, there's some slope stabilization near the stream. There's no wetland fill removal, there was no wetland fill as part of that. So the wetland fill removal restoration work, I think, is separate from that. That's more of a planting restoration plan, just to be clear.
What is it that you need?
Would you require an as-built plan for something like this? For a certificate of compliance?
Yes, I believe the permit did call for an
answer
as-built
is
plan
yes.
for down there.
Okay, I just want to know exactly how we can move forward. Okay, I've got a picture.
yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, I go back to my 15 minutes ago conversation.
I know. Go for it.
Give them a continuation based upon further conversations between Mr. Kelleher's representative or Mr. Kelleher and our agent so that we can clean up the backlog so they can move forward. I'd like to give them a continuation.
On the Pinto plan, you're saying? Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying on the rest, the part of the program that Rebecca has indicated that we have as part of our enforcement order. Clean that up. And if there are questions about it, they can call and talk to Rebecca tomorrow. But we're not going to solve it tonight. And therefore, I think we should move it along by having a continuation, because that's what
We have a catch-22 here because you won't let him move forward until he cleans up the work, and you won't let him do the work until he moves forward. So he is completely stuck and grounded. We cannot go anywhere.
No. We're not saying that, Brian.
Okay.
We're not saying that. What we're saying,
we want the work done.
we want the work regard as
The Pinto work.
the
Correct.
Pinto-
We'll do the Pinto work.
the Pinto work.
Right.
We want to get done. Becky, you have any problem with that?
I don't, and I can provide the plan and the permit that has all the orders, so that way it's very clear what was required for that mitigation
Right.
plan versus the wetland fill restoration work that we're talking about too.
So
I
David,
still
say
do
it
have
again.
a motion on the floor.
David, make a motion on that again, because I think
don't
we
need
all
a
agree with you.
As long as they accept it, then I'll make a motion that we give them an extension on this permit. And I had asked Brian if 2 weeks was enough. And he thought it was okay, but he needed to review everything.
We could commit to 2 weeks, and then if this is much more work than he could do and in a timely fashion, then we'll file for an extension in a timely fashion.
All right.
2 weeks it
All
is.
yeah.
I need a
All in
second.
favor?
Nope, I
of
need a
that?
second.
Second. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
So,
Steve
just-
Halterman.
Okay. All right.
So just
Any
so we're
discussion?
clear, in your motion, David, we are partially lifting the cease and desist on this property
Right.
so they can do the work.
That is correct.
Just that, okay. It's on the record
Right.
and it's correct. All right, good.
All right.
David
Any
Barnacle,
further
in
discussion?
Favor. Anyone?
Mr. Barnacle's in favor. Mr. Haldeman?
Steve Halterman in favor.
Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Stephen?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Simon Date,
Took a while to get where we are.
We did already. So let's continue to 8 o'clock on October 20th.
All right. 246 Holland Road. Notice of intent,
Oh, you
DEP
missed
file
one.
number 300-1070. What?
Ed, sorry. Well, there was
Oh, I
a
thought you
scheduling
said-
error, so there's a second B for 7:45. 76 South Shore Drive.
Oh, Mr. Nemo
Oh, look
here?
at that.
Well, Mr. Nemo's always used to waiting a long time before he gets his turn. Why don't we just go ahead and do the rest of the meeting? Just kidding.
Nice guy.
7:45. But in the old days, we were a lot later than we are now. 76 South Shore Drive, notice of intent, DEP file number 300-TBA, no number.
No number yet.
Peter Nemo, applicant owner. P. Engel, McClure Engineering representative, Bank Stabilization Project. All right. Becky?
So this is the new notice of intent, so I'd like to let the applicant and the representative kind of go over the whole proposal for you first.
Okay, all right, fine. All right, Peter?
Good evening, how you doing? So, just to go over it quickly, a bank stabilization on South Pond at 76 South Shore Drive. The applicant's drinking water well is within the bounds of the shoreline of the lake. The water line from that well goes through a pretty steep banking, which has been going through some erosion over the years, to an old dug well, now used as an irrigation well, which then goes to the house. As this bank is eroding, that water line is getting closer and closer to the surface. So in order to try to protect that water line, the applicant would like to armor the bank to stabilize it and prevent any additional erosion. For that stabilization, we are proposing some granite blocks laid on the existing slope with a core log installed above that with some plantings. This will help to protect that bank from wave action, rising water, ice, from erosion issues. We are proposing some minimal flood flood storage impacts from that stone, just laying them on the banking there. This will go to the Army Corps as a self-notification. I believe it qualifies for the self-verification form. And it is within the mean annual high water of the pond. We do plan on filing a RDA with DEP for the Chapter 91 to see if that's applicable to this project. Also part of this project is there are currently some stairs and a aluminum deck installed on the hill down to that well, which were not originally permitted. Those have been added to this plan to make those legal, if you will. And those would provide access to both the irrigation well and the drinking water well.
Okay. Becky?
Okay, so as Ed indicated before, we don't have a DEP file number at this time, so you're gonna have to continue this. With that said, we did receive, the site is mapped as priority habitat for a state-listed plant. Natural Heritage has commented with a no-take for this, so they have no concerns with this project as it relates to that rare species. So with this for resource areas, or actually to go back, sorry, we did receive an alternative analysis today, which I will provide to the commission for your review. You can look at that before the next public hearing for it. Resource areas on site being impacted, we have, as Pete said, we do have bordering land subject to flooding. There is bank here and land underwater. The site also contains riverfront area, which is shown on the plan, but there's no work proposed within that resource area. I mean, it would appear to me, going back and looking at the wetland regs, that the bordering land subject to flooding would need to meet the performance standards. So it would appear that you should be looking to make up the flood storage. I think it's 65 cubic feet, I think I wrote down that you had on there. So I would recommend that the commission ask them to see if there's somewhere on the property that you can make up that area, so that way you're not having that impact to bordering land subject to flooding. As far as the proposal, we did ask and look at for alternative analysis. I mean, it would be nice to be able to see something that wouldn't be an armoring of the bank there. However, I do understand that he does have the concerns with his water line there. One thing that would be kind of favorable and a more natural approach would be to look at stabilization with plantings, fabric, etc. So I'm not sure if that's something that could be looked at. It might be outlined in the alternative analysis. Not sure if there's a concern for roots with those lines in there. In addition, thank you for commenting about the Army Corps and the Chapter 91. It looks like you'll be working to meet those things. In addition, I did receive a letter from the Board of Health agent. Mr. Mimo did ask him to come out and look at that. So just going to read the letter. It says, Mr. Mimo, this letter is in regards to your project on the shoreline of your property that is intended to protect your drinking water line from your private artesian well. I visited your site in August to view your well and water line location, the condition of the shoreline banking, and to provide you an opportunity to demonstrate your concerns and your proposed fixed action. Thank you for your time and effort with that site visit. The frost line here in Massachusetts is generally set at 3 feet. This would mean that you should keep a minimum of 3 feet of cover over your water line to help keep that line from freezing. I am in agreement that you should protect your water line, and the project that you propose sounds amenable to me. I would like to add that the type of cover and how you protect your shoreline or banking is completely dependent on what you and the Conservation Commission agree upon. So that's from Ken Lacey. I think Mr. Mimo asked for support on that. So with that said, I mean, like I said, we received the alternative analysis today. I think the commission needs some time to review that. We don't have a DEP file number. My recommendation would be to have a discussion and a continuation.
All right. Steve Haldeman, comments?
Yeah, I think, there's several things before us here, and I think what Becky said sounds good, and we should review the information that's already been presented. But we don't have a file number, so there's really no urgency to finalize any decision on this tonight.
Okay, Eric?
Yeah, no, I agree with Steve. I mean, in concept, I think we need to give them the ability to protect their water and their water line. I mean, the project itself it seems to me is something that we can certainly consider when we get all the required documentation. Then we can kind of move forward. But I have no other question.
Stephen?
Yeah, I agree with their previous comments. Just to be clear, this water line is for irrigation, right? It's not for drinking water?
No, the water line in question is drinking water.
It is drinking water. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well, that said, I think we just should continue it to the next meeting. I don't see anybody that has any major objections or complications.
There is a particularly good reason. This is David Barnacle. There's a good reason for continuing it, and that's we're not necessarily waiting for the number from DEP, waiting from the comments from DEP, because you have a waterfront property with extraordinarily steep slopes. So I might like to lean more towards the armoring of the slope rather than planting plants and hoping that it's going to hold everything back, especially with the increase in volume that we've been getting from recent storms. It seems to me that the armoring would be more protection for the water, which is what we're looking at. And again, we have to remember where this is located. This is in a cove, which typically by this time of year or slightly later, especially in a drought year, has more waterfront than it does any other part of the year. And I think Mr. Mimo would verify that fact. So I too would like to have a continuation.
All right. So, Mr. Nemo, you all right with a continuation? Peter?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I should get some
Barnacle,
public comments.
In favor? Yeah. Oh, yes, that's good. Thanks. We need public comments. Jeff? Thanks, Eric.
Yep, we're on it.
Just going to add, I do have a written comment to share, but I'm going to go on the line first. Is there anyone on the line for the Notice of Intent, DEP file number 300-TBA, 76 South Shore Drive? Okay, there's nobody on the line. I do have written
Nobody
comment.
on.
Yep, I do have written comment, which I will share. So I did receive an email from Mr. Gary Allard in regards to the notice of intent application for this property. It says, we are requesting that the commission and DEP not accept or approve the new NOI application requested by the owners of 76 South Shore Drive as written. The owners failed to install the check dams and water control measures on their property that was required as part of their previous orders of conditions. This was for work in a riverfront riparian area for the construction of their new garage. The Conservation Commission DEP mistakenly closed their previous orders of conditions without the owners completing the necessary work in the riverfront area that was required. This oversight by the Conservation Commission and DEP allows uncontrolled water flow from their personal property in the riverfront riparian zone to cause damage to the properties below. This has allowed uncontrolled stormwater to bypass the drainage system at 31 South Shore Drive and during heavy rain events causing damage to the roadway, abutters' properties, wetlands, and the lake. The uncontrolled stormwater coming from their personal property must be controlled and directed free of silt and debris into the drainage structure CB1 just below their property line. The Conservation Commission DEP must correct this error and require the owners of 76 South Shore Drive to install the required check dams and water control measures that were required as part of their previous NOI before issuing them a new NOI for additional work in the riverfront area. Many residents of South Shore Drive support this request and ask the Conservation Commission and DEP to require this condition to be added to their NOI request and help resolve the water issues in this area that have plagued this area of the roadway for many years. Steve Brissett of Summit Engineering has previously sent all the documentation showing that this work should have been done as part of their previous NOI. Thank you for your anticipated help in this matter as it is beneficial for the roadway and the wetlands. Gary and Margaret Allard.
All right.
Can I ask you a procedural question, or just I'm
Yeah,
just
go
curious.
ahead, Eric.
It brings up a question about a previous NOI that we closed out. Who ultimately is responsible for work that is not done under a permit? If it's closed out, is it no harm, no foul, or is it the property owner signed off on the original permit, so it is their responsibility? I've just never come up against this before, so I have no idea what the if that's an even proper request that the Allards are making here.
Well, I look at it in two buckets, and I'm probably wrong, Eric, but I'll give you my two buckets. The one bucket is that we have this to deal with, make a decision on. The other bucket about whether or not anyone on that road property is impacting negatively the wetland is another bucket that we can go into at any time. but you'd have to do it with practically every neighbor on the road. So, you know, check dams, they were, I don't think the Alex are incorrect, and I don't think Peter would disagree with me, that there were check dams proposed on the plan. Plan was approved, plan was completed and executed, and, you know, those roads just change. Peter, would you agree with that? Go ahead.
Yes, thanks for allowing me. First of all, this comment has absolutely nothing to do with the NOI being presented.
Right, we agree.
The NOI being presented, it does not involve at all the roads or whatever this comment is about. So it's not applicable. The second thing is this issue was brought up in writing in January of 2020, and it was processed through the conservation agent, and then it was forwarded to the DEP. I have worked closely with both the conservation agent and the DEP. I've documented why the check dams do not need to exist. They were part of a temporary phase up until the point where I put in a comprehensive stormwater management on the garage. So they were part of a temporary phase where I had a temporary driveway, which was gravel, which required the check dams. Once we moved forward with the appeal process and built the garage with the comprehensive stormwater management system, those approvals done by this commission did not have check dams. If you go back to the original phase one and the final phase drawings and all the certificate of compliance was done with those documents. I've explained that this is a bogus complaint and it should be set aside, but apparently it's not being closed out appropriately by the town of Sturbridge or the DEP office in Worcester. All they need to do is close this complaint out. All the evidence has been presented to them. It's in your records. If you would just look at why that check dam was put there, it was put there as a temporary solution until the garage was built. It's as simple as that, gentlemen, and I wish we could just push this right off the plate for this NOI.
Okay. So
Well,
it's
I
not
agree with you
appropriate
for this.
to be attached. Okay.
Yeah, we agree that it's not appropriate. So,
Perfect.
So Peter, I'm going to ask for a continuation. You have no problem, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Right. David.
David Barnacle in favor.
Okay. Steve Halterman. In favor? Steve Halterman.
Was off.
I don't know
He's looking at me
Steve,
with a
can you hear
blank stare. Steve, can you hear me? Steve's not hearing me. I tell you, I don't know what he had in that coffee cup.
Eric Gaspar. I approve.
Okay. Stephen?
Stephen Chittister, yep, in favor of the continuation.
Yeah.
Oh, Steve's mic just
Haldeman?
came back on.
Steve Haldeman. You can't hear me?
Can't hear you,
All
Eric.
right, we got one abstain, and we got four.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, so continuation, Peter. We'll see you next meeting. Becky, you want to give him a date, time?
Yep, October 20th, 8:15.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Peter. Now we're to 246 Holland Road. Notice of intent, DEP file number 300-1072, continued from September 15th, 2020. Jay Hardy, owner, applicant. M. Farrell, Green Hill Engineering, representative. Construction of a single-family home and associated site work. Becky?
Yep, so I'll just start on this one. This was a continuation from our last meeting where we did discuss this lot. I did go out and do a site visit. Well, we did, as the board did a site visit, then I went back out to review the delineation a little bit more. So what you see in front of you here is a revised plan. I'm just going to kind of zoom in here. So upon review of the delineation out here, I did have some concerns with that delineation and was able to rule out the back portion of the lot being a resource area. So I did speak to the engineer and the property owner about this. So I did ask that they revise this plan to show the jurisdictional, I'm trying to zoom in enough so you can see it, but I'm losing part of it. So I did ask that they revise the plan to reflect my review of the site and just show on this lot 2 over here, this wetland over here as what we have for resource area, as you can see. The area back here, I think part of it is, as you can see where my mouse is, there is a road drainage swale that comes down, which I had some question in. I think that has brought, for quite some time, a lot of water down here, and maybe when they did the delineation, you know, some saturation may have influenced that being called a resource area. So I did a thorough review back there, walked back pretty far. It does drop off pretty steeply. Down below that's an intermittent stream. So I was able to use the 200-foot tape and rule out that we're pretty far from that. So I feel confident that that's not a resource area back there. Asked for this revision. There is still work within jurisdiction. So my recommendation at this time, as we are limiting our review to this being our resource area here, I think that for this project, my recommendation would be to move forward with approval of the plan, and with the conditions, it would be our typical conditions that we would include in any of our orders. And I think it's important with the steepness of the driveway, especially where it comes in, to make sure that they have extra erosion controls there. I would ask that we condition that to have extra erosion controls in that area. Otherwise, I don't have any concerns. The driveway isn't pointing towards the resource area, so I don't see the need for any additional BMPs for stormwater at this time.
All right, great. Starting with Mr. Haldeman, any comments?
Yeah, I was out there. Mark? Yeah, I was out there and saw how amazingly steep that slope is, but I agree with Becky that if they do some appropriate erosion control, then I think we'd be in good shape.
All right, Eric?
Yeah, I'd agree. I still don't know how that driveway gets in there, but that's not my problem. I agree. It's a good project, and I'd be in favor of it.
David?
No comment.
And I agree with the other members of the committee. Stephen?
Yeah, no additional comments.
Yeah. All right, that being said, Jeff, you want to see if anybody in the audience would like to speak to this? 246, please.
Is there anyone on the line that would like to speak in regards to 246 Holland Road, Notice of Intent, DEP file number 300-1072? No public comment.
Hearing none, I have a motion to close the public hearing.
So, Steve Haldeman.
Steve Haldeman.
Second, Eric Gaspar.
Eric, seconds. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Stephen?
In favor. Stephen Chittister.
All right, Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Steve Halterman?
Steve Haldeman in favor.
David B.
David Barnacle in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. All right, now do I have a motion to approve 246 Holland Road?
Make a motion that we approve Notice of Intent, DEP file number 300-1072, as indicated with Becky's notes. And I concur with Eric, man, that is some slope.
Yeah.
Do I have a
Eric
second?
Gaspar, second.
Discussion. Seeing no discussion, we will vote. Mr. Barnacle, how do you vote?
David Monaco in favor.
Stephen?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Steve?
Steve Halterman in favor.
Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Thank you, Jim.
Thank
All
you.
right, Becky, what's next? Yeah.
So I'd like to skip down to old business. We do have Mr. Gunn on here and Mr. Farrell to discuss DEP file number 300-1054 and DEP file number 300-711. This is for 36 Goodrich Road. It's an update. As we had the enforcement order, you issued a permit for work out there. We did a follow-up. That was required. We asked to do a follow-up as part of our permit in October to see the progress they've made on the project site. And also they did have a request in to rescind the fines that were issued to them previously. So we did perform a site visit to the property out here last week. And we do have Mr. Farrell on the line. Mark, do you want to go over the site and the progress to date?
Sure. This is Mark Farrell. Is my audio coming through?
Yes.
Yes. Sounds good, Mark.
Okay. Okay, great. So, as far as the Guns project down there, as you remember, they had decks that were running from one property line to the other all along the shore. And the plan was to take the portions of the deck out that were within the setback and restore or replace the remaining decks down there. When Mr. Gunn got down there and did work on them, they were in pretty bad shape. So he ended up removing all of the deck along the shorefront. And so all those decks below. Becky, do you have the plan up?
No, I can find it real quick.
Okay. So all of the decks below the retaining wall that's holding back the septic system have been removed. He had just put in some removable docks that go into the water and, a dock kind of pathway to get down there. One of the docks was actually overhanging the water, and again, that's been removed, and there's a small deck. All of the site down below has been stabilized with vegetation. The plantings have been done. And
Mark?
the site, yeah.
No, I just was wondering, I thought I lost you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, and then along the shore front, there was some, after we removed the docks, there was a question what was there, and there were some cinder block walls and, some old retaining walls. So he just rebuilt those, removed the cinder blocks, and he has it's kind of a version of a segmented block, small blocks, a wall that, allows critters to get in and out of it. And I think when Becky was down there, she actually saw snakes in the wall. So the whole shorefront is, stabilized now and substantially better than what was there before. So the Guns were going to have me do an as-built, but I just didn't get it done in time for this meeting. But I can certainly have one done prior to the next meeting.
Great. All right.
So,
Any comments from commissioners?
I can add in.
Yeah, I have a quick comment. Go ahead. Maybe Becky.
Becky, Becky first. I'm sorry, Becky.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add into that, since the permit has been issued, I mean, I have been working with the Guns on this. They have been keeping me updated on their progress. I have been out there multiple times. Just to reiterate that shoreline wall was something that, wasn't anticipated, as wasn't clear what was underneath the decks, the overhanging decks there. So they had discussed with me kind of adding some stone on top of it, to stabilize that, which I didn't think was a big deal in its current condition. As far as the planting goes, they did ask them, I mean, the plan varies a little bit. I did ask them to complete that sketch to kind of show what was put in down there. There are trees and shrubs and some herbaceous planting. They did indicate that they're going to do a little more of the I think it's supposed to be a wildlife conservation seed mix on the hillside. I think we started calling it wildflower, and maybe that's where some confusion came in. But they are committed to do some additional seeding on that hillside, so that's not lawn. I do think that the removal of all the structures, especially the ones overhanging the water, is a significant improvement. And they do have some lawn area for sitting out there. One of the other things that was noted on the site visit that I did ask them about afterwards, there was a section noted where there was just kind of straw wattles holding up the embankment. They do plan to add some stone or blocks there. That was more of a temporary measure for the time being. They will put something more permanent there, as that was noted on the site visit. In addition, the swale on the side of the property, that was noted that is on the adjacent property owner, which I will follow up with them as far as that drainage swale is concerned. So I do think that overall there has been a significant improvement to the site, and with that being said, an improvement to the resource area. You know, it's up to the commission how they want to move forward, but my recommendation, my feeling is that they've complied with the intent of it. It did vary slightly, but I think that getting the as-built that reflects the on-site conditions is needed and will be useful moving forward for this. That's all.
Okay. All right, starting, Chief Haldeman.
Thanks. Yeah, it is a very nice looking property now. It's always a little disappointing when somebody goes and builds something that's not in the permit. And but the wall looks really nice, and it just would have been appropriate according to the Wetland Protection Act and the Town of Sturbridge wetlands and so on, and the Conservation Commission, that a wall like that would not have been built without bouncing it off of us. We might have had some comments about, making sure that there was some ability to go back and forth across there, and obviously a snake could crawl up there. I don't know what else, but it is a nice looking job that they did, and it's clearly permittable. It just wasn't all permitted, but so be it.
Eric?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a vast improvement from what was there before, and I for one will be happy to put this all behind us.
David?
Yes, thanks for saying that, Eric. This is David Barnacle. This is the result of 5 years worth of work with Mr. Gunn. Good evening, sir. Your patience has been rewarded somewhat, actually, tonight, because you have been online for about an hour. I think the project is a major improvement.
Stephen?
Yeah, I guess I would just reiterate the comment that Becky made about the lawn down right at the water line. I was kind of expecting that would be, restored more naturally within 25 feet of the lake. So if that's the intention, we just need to make sure that happens and that it gets put on the plan.
Yeah, I'd like to just throw in there that we need to get the plan. That would be the next. Yep.
Yeah, and just to clarify for the,
That would
wildflower seed mix, that was, and if you can see my cursor, in this area where the existing wood deck was to come out, they were permitted, this whole area was, to be remaining structure. So, there's a sloped area here that, that comes down that they were talking about doing the seed mix on.
All right. Yeah. All right, so we've got an update. So when will we get a plan, Becky? An as-built.
I think Mark said he's working on it. Mark?
Becky,
Mike?
yeah,
Mark, are you still on? Mark?
Yes, Mark Farrell, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Mark Farrell here. I can have a plan. I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance. I didn't have time to get it done for this meeting. My intention was, but I can certainly get it done prior to the next meeting. I assume you're going to be meeting in a couple of weeks. So in about a week or so, yeah. I can put that phone. Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah, the next meeting is October 20th.
All right, great.
If you could have it for the commission to review by the 15th, that would be useful so they can have it in advance. And then also, one of the other questions that's been asked, the Guns have asked for the fines to be rescinded. That's something, if you want to discuss that this evening, or you want to wait till you get the as-built plan, that's up to you.
I'd like to wait till we get the as-built. Any other input?
Yeah, I'd agree. I
have input. It's me, Mr. Gunn here. You know, you put these fines on as an incentive so I would do the work, not to stay right on till the very end. And if they do, that's fine with me. And I'd like to know who's going to go up with me to court. Which one of you fellows want to join me? Now, in other words, correction for David Barnacle, 5 years, it's been 14 years I've been having you involved with you. 14 years. I would hate to see you approve everything, because I'm going to miss this, whatever you want, this marriage between us. So I would not expect you to
Most
approve
marriages
this
don't last that long.
one simple drawing, but that's the way things are today. So I can't ask for approval now. I have to go again. So, okay, that's all I have to say.
Thank you for the correction.
Have a nice evening.
All right. Yep, take care.
What are you doing? What's the bottom line?
We're going to
We'll
wait
get
for
the as-built, and
we'll get the
so
as-built.
we can vote on the waiving the fines. I for one am okay with waiving the fines. I just want to get the as-built. I want to get everything. But I'm just one vote. But I don't want to do anything until I have the as-built. We can just close this all up.
On October 20th, this will be the end.
So you're telling me we go to begin at the meeting of October 20th?
Wait another hour?
Becky,
So it'd be October
when can
20th.
you put them on?
I think if it's quick, you could use your discretion and do it at the beginning of the meeting if you want.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. Do it as a walk-in.
Okay. You're first, Fred.
Okay.
6 o'clock.
Totally confused.
Yeah, say it in English.
So we're going at 6 o'clock, October 20th, and by that time you should have a drawing in your hands and have seen it and make a decision based on that drawing. That drawing is based on what's out here, so I don't know of any changes that are going to happen. So
No,
I have
neither do we.
an engineer who does business with you all the time, and he's respectable, and he promises something, he does it. So you don't trust.
Now you're reaching out there, calling them respectable, right, Mark?
Come on, guys.
No, what I'm saying is, he promised you'd have a drawing in your hands probably within a week or so. And you're going to hold his feet to the fire. You're not going to accept as-built. You're not going to accept my closing of this thing until you see that drawing, which is depict everything that's there that you people have already come out and seen. So this is just a paper backup. So you're going to hold my feet to the fire that much longer. Isn't that right?
Right. That's right.
I don't know that that's any different than any other situation, Mr. Gunn. So
No.
you know, and I think you're being given a great accommodation to be put in as a walk-in. So I would think that you'd be grateful for that. But
14 years, I'm not grateful.
I've been here I've been here 18
move this
months,
along,
and
guys.
you've been cantankerous with me. So I'm not going to give you any
I don't want to go there. Becky, what do we got next?
All right. Thank you, Fred.
What's next?
All right. We have another
Thanks, Fred.
request for certificate of compliance.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Mark. This is for 253 Walker Road. This is for DEP file number 300-655. This was actually issued to 245 Walker Road. This one's a little confusing, but I will explain it to you. So there was an orders of conditions that was issued for the subdivision of one lot off of a parcel. It was an A&R plan. The residence at the time was number 245. The single-family house construction on the new lot required orders of conditions. Orders of conditions were issued and recorded on the original property, which was 245. The new house was built and then given the number of 245, and the original house became 249. So house number 249 then divided another lot off, which became 253 Walker Road. The original orders of conditions for the first single-family house, which was subject to orders of conditions, never got closed off after it was built. So that carried with the deed each time they started subdividing stuff off. The review of the file and the site, I mean, there was a plan in there that did show a wetland delineation. So based off looking at this, the construction of the house lot on number 253 did not appear to require orders of conditions under the bylaw or the Wetlands Protection Act. So this certificate of compliance would be a partial for number 253. As a reminder, 253 did not require any wetland permitting. It just has the old order from the other house on it. Did you catch all that?
Got it.
Got it? It's a little confusing. So this would be a partial for
right.
253 Walker Road only.
All right. Mr. Barnacle, how do you vote?
Approve, David Barnacle.
Eric?
Approve, Eric Gaspar.
Stephen?
Stephen Chittister, I approve.
Steve Halterman?
Steve Halterman, I approve.
And Ed Goodwin, I approve. What's next, Beck?
So we do have some new business items and old business left. We do have 53 Holland Road Belanger parcel on here. Ed, this is an item you asked for, if you want to go over that.
Yeah, it's really very simple. Jeff called me up, or he emailed me, and then I called him, and he wanted to know what we felt about going forward with eminent domain on the Belanger parcel, and he said, but don't tell the committee about it until I get it firmed up. And but I said I thought that everybody be very much approved it, you know. And I did talk to some of you. And then after the last meeting, called me up and asked me why I hadn't gotten an approval on it from you guys. And so I went and got individual approvals from you, as you know. In my family, when you're told not to tell anybody something, there's so many of us, you really have to not tell them, you know, or you get into a lot of trouble. So at any rate, that's what it's for. So there's no reason for it to be there other than as a unit, you all approved going forward with, the selectmen looking for and eminent domain on the Belanger parcel. So that's it. Nothing needs to be said or done. But yeah, good.
Mr. Chairman, I think we need to make a public vote as a committee, or we will be in
All right.
deep doo-doo.
Would you like to make
I've
a
been there.
motion?
I move that we, okay, I make a motion that we approve this Blackburn going forward with eminent domain on the Parienta property.
All right. Do I have a
I'll
second?
Motion.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor? Stephen?
Stephen Chittister, I approve.
Steve?
I approve. Steve Halterman.
Eric?
Eric Gaspar, I support it.
David?
David Barnacle, I approve.
And Ed Goodwin, I approve and support it too. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Yep, no problem. Policy on filing requirements. Beck?
Yes, so we have said many times to people that we'd like materials in advance of our meetings, so that way we have time to review them. I would like to propose that we have a policy in place, so that way it's very clear for people that it's more than just verbally being asked for during a meeting. So the policy would be, Town of Sturbridge Conservation Commission revised documents deadline policy. Plan revisions must be supplied to the Conservation Commission no less than 7 days before the meeting of the Conservation Commission at which the plan is to be considered, unless the Conservation Commission specifically allows an alternate timeframe. It is the policy of the Sturbridge Conservation Commission that revised documents shall be submitted at least 7 days prior to the public hearing, public meeting date, in order to allow for review by the commission, its agent, third-party reviewers, and any other interested party. Revised plans submitted less than 7 days prior to the scheduled public hearing / public meeting shall cause the public hearing / public meeting to be continued. I would like to ask that you vote on this so we can have this memorialized and have it available for people.
All right, any discussion?
I'd like to make one addition. Nat, this is David Barnacle. The one addition is I think we should put calendar in front of days. Each one of 7-day requirements that Becky has indicated.
Okay.
Which should indicate that there's 7 calendar days as opposed to 7 working days. Somebody's going to come back and ask that question or use it as an excuse as to why they were late. So if we answer it right up front by saying 7 calendar days, that means that the Tuesday before our meetings, we have the information in our hands. And I wholeheartedly support this.
Okay, I'm fine with that. David, I have a question for you. I thought we put some of this in our town bylaw.
My impression was the same, but obviously not.
It's not, I couldn't find it in our regulations.
Yeah. Eric, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
Yeah,
you.
no. The only question I had was, so what's the posting requirement for putting the agenda out for public record where it's not changeable? That is, how many days in advance is that?
Our agenda?
3 days? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's 48 hours, working hours, or something of that. Maybe it's 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're going to be, holding to higher standards, which don't get me wrong, I'm not going down this word track without supporting what you're saying. Should we also look at rescheduling the public hearings that are affected by the cascade of things being taken off of our agenda? Because otherwise we could be sitting here with some holes that could create some real efficiencies in future meetings. If we're going to adhere to standards, we should make sure that people understand when we give them a verbal hearing time that is subject to change based off of previous meetings coming on or off, so we can be maximally efficient with our time.
I agree with the trying to be efficient. Unfortunately, with the public hearings, I don't think we can do that legally, because when someone files their application for a public hearing, we have to provide them with a legal ad with that time, and then that gets put into the local newspaper. In addition, they have to notify the abutters with that public hearing time, and all of that happens in advance. So we can't change their public hearing after that, and then any of the continuations, anyone who might have been on the line for that continuation wouldn't know that we had moved something forward. So we have to kind of adhere legally to the times that we give them, either if it's a continued public hearing or a new one.
So then, this is going to sound terrible, maybe, but then I would recommend shortening up the duration of our public hearings to either 5 or 10 minutes, and stagger them, more closely, so we can avoid having holes in the schedule if we are going to get to the point where we're brooming people out. Because I could very easily foresee, and we had that happen today, that there were 2 continuations / didn't have enough information, where we would have lost a half an hour. Now, granted, the conversation beforehand didn't put us in a half an hour window, but there's no guarantee that we're going to have that, that conversation.
Yeah.
So, I get what we're trying to do here, but and maybe it's as simple as just reviewing what the time slot for a public hearing in the advertisement has to be. Does it have to be in those 15-minute increments?
I don't think it has to be.
Or
I mean, I've seen other towns
do we have some leeway?
who do it less time. I think
we've had them in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. The first thing, Eric, you're right, and yet there really isn't a really good solution. The thing you do is you have your public hearings first, so that all of your business other than the public hearings comes after. So if you get holes, you can fill your meeting in to the point of so you're not sitting around or playing cards on your computer while we wait for the But really, the thing we wasted time today. If as an example, one of the applicants, and I won't, they dropped everything off today. And if they had to have it a week ago, we would have had a better meeting, a lot better meeting.
No, they would have dropped it off today.
There's truth to that. Here. Come on, But I really feel we should do this.
But one of the things we might want to consider is instead of 7 days before, 5 days before, 5 calendar days, so that it would have to come in by the Thursday before our Tuesday meeting. Because remember that it will have had a meeting. They will have had a meeting 2 weeks apart, but we're taking away almost 1 whole week if we ask for them to have their material ready on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it does say
that, and the fact that there might be a site visit
that's a good
between
point
there.
Yeah.
So we do say,
I think you got it. I think
We have the option of,
unless the Conservation Commission specifically allows an alternate time frame. So you can use your discretion, I think. If they call up and say, hey, I can't have 7, I can have 5 days, is that okay? I think there's some discretion here to allow for that. It becomes very difficult.
Steve. We're not hearing you, Stephen. Steve. We're not hearing you. Can't hear you. We lost Haldeman. Can anybody hear him?
Ed, maybe what we should do is think about...
I can't hear Steve either.
What'd you say, Dave?
Maybe we should think about this until the next meeting, about time frames and, really flesh it out in our own minds before we take an actual vote on it.
Yeah, my point is that I think that what Eric's alluding to is a reality. But we have to deal within that reality. If you let them bring things in the day before the meeting, it makes the meeting a much lower quality meeting.
Right.
And if you push them out, 5 days like you said, or 8 days like Becky wants, you'll get better quality. And you might get some spots, like Eric said.
But with that,
So let's continue. Yeah.
You should not continue giving continuations when they don't bring the material in on time. And that's what we consistently do. That's what you as a chairman consistently does.
Right,
You can't keep
I do.
doing that.
Well, that's true, but on the other hand, they're just going to come back again, and they're going to bring it in the day before then too.
So just so you know,
we got to have a.
I mean, I found this policy with the town of Spencer, so it's not uncommon for other towns to be doing this as well.
We had it, Becky. We had a policy that required them to have it in writing, the plan in writing to us, a period of time before the meeting. I don't remember what it was, and it just all went away. So let's do what David said and continue this rather than beat it now. We'll wait till we find one of those voids in the meeting next time and talk about it.
I don't know, our time might be taken up with all the continuations and the last minute submissions, but.
Oh my God.
All right, I tried.
All right. No, we're not abandoning you. You want to take a vote, Beck? Beck? She go home?
No, she's here.
She go home, Becky?
Answer it, come on, let's.
I mean, I would like to have it set in place because it does make it easier for us in the office. So that way I can do the best job I can for you in advance of the meetings. I mean, just for this meeting alone, having the amount of information and stuff that came in today, when I'm already have a list of things to prepare for a meeting, makes it really difficult to be able to do my job for you. So whether it's 5 or 7 days, whatever you want to do, I would just prefer to have something in place, because it has become very difficult. These last minute.
Chairman Jeff Bridges would like to speak.
Jeff?
Yes, thank you. I agree with the policy, but I would also recommend it. I've not spoken to Becky about this yet. But any current applications you have out there, any of the people that you're expecting, I think you have to give them some notice of this new policy. So you may vote on it tonight, you may adopt it tonight, but I don't think you should hold.
Oh yeah, we wouldn't.
The first meeting in December, right? So give everybody a chance to get educated on this and be familiar with the outcomes.
No, we don't have any problem with that. Gentlemen, you want to give Becky her request?
I'm prepared to vote on it. I make a motion that we accept Becky's proposal and have a 7-day policy that materials have to be in unless we, at our discretion, give the applicant more time.
Do I have a second?
Motion, but I'd like to amend it to say 7 calendar days.
Okay.
Yep, that's fine.
Stephen, anything? Steve, I mean, Eric?
Yeah, I'm good with it. Jeff's got a question.
On the
Jeff,
days, can you measure the days similar to the days you would measure for the notice of a public hearing? So it'd be calendar days, and if you have holidays, weekends, those kind of things, right?
Yeah. Okay. You got that, Beck?
Am I making it harder on you?
She's not talking to me.
Well, are you saying calendar days including holidays and weekends or not? Because that would be work days, right?
It'd be work days.
Well, no,
7
calendar
work
days are
days?
calendar days. So I'd just say Tuesday.
So
Our meetings are on Tuesdays. You have to have it the
calendar
previous
days
Tuesday.
You're giving them less time.
Your calendar days would include if there's a weekend, if there's a holiday, so if it, right?
It includes them, yeah.
Okay, that's fine, as long as everybody's clear on that, that's
All
fine.
right, so we had Steve Stephen gave us a proposal. Did we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
I'll second.
Eric.
Yep, all right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Steve Haldeman?
Lost him again.
He's saying yes. He's saying yes.
Thumbs up.
Okay, Eric?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
David?
All thumbs up too.
David Barnacle in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Stephen proposed it, so. Good. All right, Becky, what else?
So we did have on here an update for an enforcement order for 30 River Road, DEP file number 300-1021. I did receive some correspondence from the permit holder's representative that they were not able to attend this meeting. They would like to give an update at our next meeting and have asked, I sent a letter asking to schedule a site visit. So they had gotten back and it's not one of our normal site visit days, so next week we'll be doing site visits on the 13th. They're suggesting a site visit on October 15th, 16th, or 19th. They'll ensure that the permit holder is available, and at that point the project would be very close to being completed.
Well, it's, whatever. What's the 19th?
19th is a Monday. 15th.
What's best for you? Stephen, what's your best day? If we had to do a site visit up at 30 River Road.
Probably Thursdays. Thursday morning, possible.
David, what do you say? No what?
I won't be attending.
Okay. Eric?
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, I can.
If this is a drive-by, I can
Yeah,
ride.
you can do a drive-by. I'll even get an AR-15 for you. So.
Are we talking about moving all of our state visits to Thursday the 15th, or just doing this one?
No, we're just doing that one. Doing that one,
Yeah.
Eric, I think.
I could do the
Becky,
morning,
right?
as of right.
Yeah, Thursday morning? Yeah. Steve,
If it's
can you
just
do
a
that?
one-off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, and I am too, Becky.
Okay, what time?
We're
So
talking
you got that Thursday,
The 15th at
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock?
Yeah.
All right, we'll meet there.
Stephen, is that all right with you? Do I get earlier?
I can't do earlier. I
that's
got to
9
drop my
o'clock.
kids off.
I'm sorry, you both spoke at the same time. You can't do 9 o'clock, Eric?
Oh, I can't do earlier than 9. So 9.
Oh, okay, 9 o'clock it is then. Good. All right.
So just as a reminder, we will have site visits on the 13th. There is a portion of the morning that I'm unavailable, but I will get a schedule out and coordinate that with Ed. We have a couple new projects, and then you did talk about doing a site visit at 27 Lad Road. We did have some discussion about doing one at 9 Holland Road. Did you still want to schedule the one for 9 Holland Road as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'll set that up. I'll coordinate with Ed
Yeah.
and let you know that schedule by the end of the week as I normally do. All right.
Okay.
Have a new admin.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, just as an update, we did offer Holly's position, the administrative assistant position, to someone. They have accepted it and they have been appointed. So Erin Carson, who's currently the agent, she's the admin in the Board of Health office, will be moving over to take over Holly's position when she leaves. Holly's last day is this Friday, so you know too. We could have delayed that if we didn't issue that
You've done a
partial
good job.
certificate, but I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Anything else?
The last item on here, Mr. Barnacle requested that I add enforcement order updates on here. So I added that on here.
Great.
All right, do you want me to, Dave, is there something in particular you want to discuss, or you want me to try to give a very quick update on some of these?
What I strongly suggest is at 20 minutes of 10, that our update be postponed for at least 2 weeks,
Okay.
because I don't see us having to listen to them and taking any realistic action in the next 20 minutes.
I agree.
I can argue with
I'll
that.
second that. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right.
Steven, do your thing.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Barnacle?
Aye.
Aye.
See you soon,
Good night,
Jeff.
Dan.
Good night.
Take care, gentlemen. Thank you.
Night.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeff.
you, Holly. Thank you, Becky. Thank you,
Thanks,
Jeff.
Jeff.
Becky, I'm sorry we got you.